and welcome to, I guess, maybe not the final one, because maybe, who knows, Wins will come out, and then there'll be a Wins episode. But potentially,
at some point you'll have to reread Fire and Blood, and we can do one then.
I reread Fire and Blood a lot more recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're doing a Fire and Blood live stream, but welcome to the Dance with Dragons discussion stream. I have with me Kyle once again, who is giving opinions and also letting you all know that this is extremely
I'm giving
spoilery.
you facts.
You are okay. We'll talk about it. I'm kidding. And we have David from the channel Lost Beyond the Wall, who you will find in some Discords, saying, mostly quite good opinions, joining us for Dance with Dragons with a creepy blood raven in his background. And now you guys can introduce yourself if you want and say all the things I forgot about you that are important. If you don't list it here, it's not important. So, Kyle, you can go first.
All right. I'm Kyle. I have the YouTube channel Read by Kyle. I've done several of these with Jake, and we're seeing what his opinions are. Dance with Dragons is my least favorite of the series, but that's it's still if I was to rank my favorite books of all time, it's still 9 or 10. It's still it's just, I don't care. There's I feel like there's more objective flaws in this book, but I also don't care. So it's still phenomenal. And Quentin is roasty, toasty, finished, dead.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to echo everything Kyle just said, everything about the book. I'm David. I run a fairly new channel where I talk about SFF and literary fiction and maybe some TV shows if I start watching TV again at some point. I love these books. This one not an exception, though it is probably my least favorite. Sure, we'll get into that. But yeah, I love A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm looking forward to talking more about it in videos and here. Thanks for having me on, Jake. Don't buy the caption either. That is all slander, even with the caveat. I did receive a gracious invitation to join. Thank you, Jake. I'm happy to be here.
So what do you have to say? Do you believe that Bookborn is the #1 brand stan, or even a bigger brand stan than you?
We will find out. I am totally down to expand that fan club to whoever's willing to join. I will get into why I think one of Brand's chapters in this book is the best chapter in the entire series. But yeah, Brand might push my top. Probably wouldn't push my top 5 characters, but he's definitely in the top 10. And I probably have him above some other potential obvious number ones.
I just have to let everybody know that most of this stream will be me trying to contain my rage that David is a Jaime Lannister slanderer. So,
yeah, who do you prefer, for the record? Bran Stark or Jaime Lannister?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about this question today because I just had an inkling that it'd be posed to me. It's really tough. I think
not tough.
If I were ranking my top 10 characters, which I expect to do soon, in terms of character work, yeah, Jaime's probably top 2 or 3, right? But in terms of my ranking, he's in the top 10. That's the thing. I would rank characters based on how important they are to me, that they're in the story, that I love the series so much. And Bran, as we'll get into, probably is a bit higher up on that metric. But Jaime's got to be in at least my top 7. We'll get into him. I actually love the little slice of Jaime we get in this book. So
that was the most politician-y answer, David. Are you thinking about going into politics? Because you even, I was thinking about this question. I knew I would be asked. And if you really, there's lots of sides to consider in this conflict. But ultimately.
All right, Kyle. You know what? I think I like Bran more than Jaime.
Ridiculous, but thank you for your honesty.
We do appreciate your honesty. In fairness, politicians very rarely get asked about such controversial opinions, such as thinking that Bran is better than Jaime. Come on. Okay, in fairness, Bran 3 does rule. So, since we're on this topic, I'd also like to note Bran 1 has 0 instances of Bran thinking to himself that he is nearly a man grown. And that is what we call character development.
That's crazy.
But, unfortunately, the second the second sentence of Brand 2 is that him thinking to himself that he's nearly a man grown. So the character development, he had a character arc of not thinking that, and then it was rejected. And then Brand 3, a couple things happen. So for those who don't remember, David, do you want to tell people what happens in Brand 3 that makes you so excited about this and why it's...
So first and foremost, the moon was a crescent, thin and sharp as the blade of a knife. Yeah, I mean, do you want me to recount the chapter first or start gushing about it? I could do them kind of in tandem.
You can do it.
I mean, Bran makes it to the cave. This is I am Bran, Blood Raven on my left. And that three-eyed crow stuff starts to sort of come into fruition where Bran learns that he's destined to become a green seer and starts to see some stuff. And yeah, I mean, what I see as Bran's role in the series and why I've like generally enjoyed his chapters is like amidst all of the, sort of Game of Thrones and scheming and stress of all the other plots, he's kind of this, isolated adventure that I think is like what really matters at the story's core. We finally get some payoff there in this one. Like in terms of being a good fantasy chapter, like we get revelations and like payoff on stuff like what people call like the old gods magic and ravens, which like previously were pretty extremely random, honestly. But obviously we just get tons and tons of more questions, stuff we might not get answered, like how all the magic works, but start thinking about the history of the children of the forest and what, Bran's role in the story is supposed to be. It has Blood Raven, who's awesome. Like I generally think the way magic is handled like in these books for the story is pretty perfect. But like I'm a sucker for more wizards. I am pretty down bad about Marwyn the Mage not being in this book. So yeah, Blood Raven rocks. Yeah, and I mean there's some ominous stuff going on with Hodor and Jojen. I'm sure we'll get into that. Just beautiful ethereal writing. It's like this amidst all like it's sandwiched between Tyrion and Jon, who are a bit down bad for various reasons, but it's this chapter just covers a big span of time where we go through the phases of the moon, and we also finish off with that amazing heart-wrenching scene of Ned praying to the old gods that Rob and Jon will grow up to love each other as brothers. I loved that. And then we see all the visions. We get a Dunk cameo, in fact. So
allegedly,
yeah, great.
That's actually the next.
So spake Martin. I think that's confirmed. Actually, I could be wrong, but probably
I don't think so. But we'll check after. Maybe I missed one, but I think it's just been widely accepted. I don't think it has been confirmed, but that's definitely Dunk. Like I have no. Yeah.
Even I, while reading it, which was like. I have in my note, I have a Duncan the Tall appearance, ! Which is like, okay, fine. It could not be Dunk, but it's highly lame if it's not Dunk. So
yeah, sometimes the easiest answer is just the best right answer.
Well, we also might have Dunk in Brand 2, depending on who we think Cold Hands is. So
get out of here, brother. Get out of here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's just the word on the street. I don't know.
There's no words on that street. That street
Kyle,
is a vacant street. Jake has watched The Wire. That's where they have Amsterdam on that street, but like beforehand, that's the street.
Yeah, so actually, David, unfortunately, you're going to have to get removed. This live show will only be with me and Kyle because you think Cold Hands is Duncan the Tall. He's not even tall, bro.
I think Jimmy said that at some point. I don't know.
Jimmy is a man of culture. He would not slander the streets that way. Although actually, I could totally see him being like, now what if?
I'm actually like nearly certain because I think like he covers his hand, which could have I think his hand is like noted to be like black as ice, but like that might have been like getting
he's
burnt
not
in
even
Summer
tall,
Hall.
bro.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just not a good theory. Like I'm
here's
sorry.
Here's the thing, Jimmy. I don't know if you're watching. Here's the thing for Jimmy for any series when it comes to theories. The amount of theories where Jimmy is like, yeah, I could see that is all of them. But the amount of theories where he's like, I distinctly think that's correct.
That is so true. Yeah.
Like, okay, we're gonna have to check with Jimmy on this because I'm pretty sure.
I say like if you just asked him binary, like, hey Jimmy, do you think Cold Hands
that's
is
what
Sir
I mean.
Duncan the Tall?
Yes.
He'll be like, no.
Jimmy has been strangled a lot during wrestling. I would like to preempt that, even if he that is his thought. I don't know, man.
But if that's
Anyway,
the case, then we'll have
I do
to
want to say, I do
retroactively
want to tell
edit
my
this
thoughts
one.
about this chapter, which is that it's excellent, and I agree with almost everything that you said. It is clearly, in my opinion, the best Bran chapter by like a long amount. Like, also, you were mentioning how well it's written. I think George just leveled up in the last 2 books in terms of like line by line writing, and he was already extremely good. I'm not slandering the first 3, but I think people really sleep on just how much the line by line sentence writing in Feast and Dance are, because they're just very good. And yeah, I agree. Like everything in the North in Dance with Dragons is just like you can almost feel how depressed it is. Like I just imagine it's like everybody's just cold and miserable, and like the Bran stuff just really is like alive in that way. And I've been reading like a lot of like dream songs lately, like the short story collection, and I just read one where it's like this land of like ice and there's like ice spiders and stuff, and this would have been written in like the 70s. And I was like, man, this is like really good atmosphere writing. And I'm just like, oh yeah, George was prepping for these Bran chapters. In terms of the lore dropped in this channel or in this chapter is incredible. Love Bloodraven. Bloodraven's the shit. Children of the Forest are so cool. The Hodor stuff gets more and more interesting with each chapter. I am unfortunately not a Jojen Paste subscriber, so I think the very
I'm
end.
I'm actually not either, and we can.
The thing is I don't think it's a bad theory of like what might happen. Like I think it is a realistic thing that could happen. I just don't think based on what we get at the end, it's just like definitive. Like I just don't. Just because Jojen wasn't there that day and then he tastes blood, I'm like that's just like a very big leap for me.
Kyle, you gotta remember this
it.
is the same fandom that claims that Quentin isn't dead because we didn't see it on screen.
Okay, hold
And
up,
then
hold up. Those
plays
are
it-
not
the
comparable.
fandom.
Those are not
Yeah.
comparable. And I don't think it's like so. I think after this reread, I slightly lean Jojen Paste. I am on team. Like if you had to make me pick, I'm like 55%.
And the difference there is that I just like I don't think that's true, but if it is true, I think it's reasonable. Whereas Quentin is dead. Like that's like I don't think it's
exactly.
reasonable.
Quentin is dead. So I do think there are a couple more things. Like there is just a lot of focus on the chapter on how like Jojen is kind of like depressed, and there's like the conversation where it's like oh, like Bran shouldn't be afraid, like with the implication that he should be the one who's afraid. Now it is really like this is definitely the best Bran chapter. I think it's the best Bran book. It is really funny that George wrote a Bran chapter where it's like he wrote a Bran chapter that's like clearly one of the best Bran chapters of the books, and then he was like,
done.
All right, so no more Bran chapters.
Done for 20 years.
Write that off as an artistic choice rather than it being difficult to write these amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely make the argument that it literally just takes place over months. So I'm not clear if like chronologically, like when this chapter actually ends. Like you could make a case that like the chronology of this chapter takes place over a majority of the rest of the book, and that's just like why we don't get a Bran chapter because Bran 3 is happening during like the entire second half of the book.
I'm not entirely confident on this. This could just be a fake memory, but I have a feeling that I remember reading somewhere where he confirmed that he wrote a Bran chapter that got moved to Winds. I could just be making that up. But if that's the case, I do think it would be an artistic choice to like end because like he's clearly trying to get everybody to like a certain point at the end of Dance, and he fails because he cuts off the Battle of Ice and the Battle of Fire. But like that's what he was trying to do. So I think if he moved a chapter from Bran, then he probably felt that this was a better like ending for the book for Bran.
I'll also just like explicitly second you, Kyle, in that I think the fact that we don't have the climax is what hurts this book a lot for me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what we'll get into. That.
So yeah, I can say that for me as well. I think about a third of the way into this book, I remember the first time I read it, I liked it more than Feast because I think, you know, Jake was just like Tyrion, Jon, Daenerys, woo. And like about maybe a third of the way in this book, I thought I was going to be like on team Dance. The start of this book is, I mean, it's a very good book, but I think it's the only one where I like the first half more than the second half. Every other A Song of Ice and Fire book, I distinctly like the second half more.
I like the second half better, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
Okay. I have a couple random other things for Bran 2, just like some weird time travel stuff that I think is kind of funny. So Bran can warg Hodor because he warged Hodor. If you think it's like they talk about how once an animal gets warged, it becomes easier to warg it. So the reason Bran can warg Hodor now is that he warged Hodor. He's going to warg Hodor in the past, hold the door.
Spoilers for season 6 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, whatever. Spoilers for everything. And the reason he thought to warg Hodor in the past is that he warged him. I don't know if this actually.
I see it's a cycle, and with time travel things like that, it is always interesting because it depends on the rules that the author or creator sets forth, and in some ways that creates a loop like that, and that's very much like time turnery type things too, and like that. I don't know. That's the first example I think of, but like it's a cycle that only creates itself.
I have a lot of
closed loop. That was the word I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, I have faith in George that this isn't necessarily a closed loop where we'll at least be able to write it off as like warging into someone in the past is an entry point. Because time travel, like those sort of cyclical loops are the time travel thing that really, really bothers me. So, and we do see a linear timeline here. Like, for example, like when you say jump back in time and are like looking through the weirwood, you like you're heard as like the whispers if you say something. Like we're on a continuous timeline. So I right now George is in my good books in terms of the way time travel's handled, but wait and see, because that's
the way you frame that
could bother me.
The way you frame that is as if you were disagreeing with me and Jake, but then you kind of agreed with us. So like, do you agree with Jake's take, or are you saying that you don't think that's what's happening?
I think there is an entry point. I don't think it's a closed loop. Hopefully, but we can't say one way or the other, I guess.
So then there's one other question. Like, I think it's probably Bloodraven is telling the truth here, which is not something that I assume lightly. Bloodraven straight up says, like, the past remains the past. We can learn from it, and we cannot change it, which is like skill issue because Bran definitely has been able to influence stuff in the past. Like, I think he even interacted with Jon in Clash of Kings. Do you think Bloodraven is lying, or is just Bran is built different and he does not realize that Bran is built different?
I think he's probably lying, just because he's been trapped in that tree for a long time, and like, so Bran being more powerful than Bloodraven would not be surprising to me, but Bran being so early on in his powers and being able to affect things, and Bloodraven being stuck in this tree for like 150 years or 100 years, whatever it's been, and not even being conceivable as a concept, that power gap just seems a little bit more unlikely to me. So it seems more likely to me that he's lying either for his own purposes or because he thinks that, like, I mean, Bran's a very young child, so he probably doesn't want a very young child.
He's nearly a man-grown Kyle.
Nearly is not there. And so I would even see, even if he wasn't being nefarious, even if he was just being like a wise old mentor, which I'm not saying that he is, I could see you being like, I don't really want a 9-year-old to think he can change the past. So technically, yeah, it's possible to kind of influence the past, but let's just hope he doesn't try to do that until he's older and I can teach him some more stuff. Or I don't know, something in that vein. But yeah, we just don't have enough Bloodraven to really go off of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, blood. Oh,
well, no, you go. If you have more to say.
I just wanted to second that Bloodraven could definitely be conniving based on who Bloodraven was prior to being the three-eyed crow, as a legendary Hand of a King.
Bloodraven's the shit. I want more of him so much.
I agree.
Yeah. I also agree. Okay, so since we have a name after it, I think it's time to go to Essos, where a land containing the corpse of Quentin Martell, who's definitely dead. Like, he's extremely, extremely, extremely dead. And also, I think probably my least, I guess, Ario Hoda, my least favorite, like, plot line. I don't find the Quentin plot line that interesting. I'm like, okay, bro, like, we subverted the hero's journey. You got burned alive. That's tough, man. You should have gone back to Dorne and listened to Barristan.
Yeah.
So I think it's an okay arc, given that it sort of ends to teach us that even if your dragon blood is, if you have thin dragon blood, that's not going to get it done. Which I think could potentially play into a possible Targaryen in the future.
Here it
But,
comes. Do you
yeah,
want to
well,
say? Come on, say it
I'll
with your
hold on
chest.
that.
Politician answer there. Politician answer. Let's.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is the last book in the series. I'm sure we'll be going over several theories, including, I know Kyle wants to hit on
Look
the
away,
Great
Bookborn.
Northern Conspiracy. I am the number one stan of the theory that Tyrion is the third head, bastard son of Aerys, upon Joanna Lannister's visit to King's Landing to present the twins. I don't think any of that invalidates anything having to do with the relationship between Tyrion and Tywin. I still think that has all the value, particularly if Tywin wasn't certain that Tyrion was the Mad King's bastard. And I would love that. And I think specifically that last point about me loving it is what sets me apart from a lot of other people who
Oh, I don't think so. I think lots of
may
people love
believe.
it. I like. Okay, so I mean, I've fought with David about this jokingly for a while. I don't actually have strong feelings about this theory. I would like it either way, depending on how it was dealt with. I don't think it is going to be true, which is a little different than not liking it. I think it would be. I almost want it because I love Tyrion. Like, I just think that Tyrion getting to ride a dragon would be like the sweetest thing, just as a guy who likes Tyrion.
Hey, from this
Um,
chapter too, we know he's a dragon fan.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to the just the general Quentin stuff though, because people are really big haters on the Quentin chapters, and I just think this is ridiculous. Okay, so I don't love them. Like, if I was to rank them as like my favorite, like, I mean, Eris, Oakheart, Ario Hota, Dampere would be under it, but like, other than that, lower end of. But I think Quentin's chapters do a lot with a little, and I think there wasn't really a good way of not having them, based on what was going on. Like, because people see it and then he dies, which he clearly does, and they're like, that was a waste of time. And I just think that people think that the only value is whether or not Quentin like then goes on to be like a major character. It's like there's a lot going on in those chapters that is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And when we think of where Feast and Dance are in the series, these two books collectively are getting us set up for the end game. And while we're doing a lot of character development on our main characters and some of our supporting characters and building them up, we're also doing a lot of world building and a lot of positioning and a lot of expanding on how we get to the final act. And Quentin's chapters are some of the best at doing that with a little amount of time. You get so much stuff about the sellsword companies and what's going on with them. You get to see the fall of Astapor, even just from like seeing how bad Astapor fell apart is really important for Daenerys's arc, because we see what happened when she left these people, and now we understand. So like we as the readers want Daenerys to get to Westeros. That's like the obvious thing. But Daenerys's whole thing is she doesn't want to leave Meereen like Astapor has been. So now we as the reader get to see what happens with Astapor. That does make that conflict a little bit more real for us. We see, okay, well, Astapor has absolutely gone to shit. All these terrible things are happening. It is just chaos here. And then Dany doesn't want that to happen to Meereen. So like we understand the consequences more. You get way more about the young Kai. So you get all the stuff going on with their thing. If we didn't have those chapters, they would just kind of be like a faceless horde, which is not. You could still have them that way. And then Tyrion and Jorah come in later, but I think it really helps set up the conflict and the dynamic of those chapters. We have stuff going on with the Tattered Prince that's clearly going to go on into the 6th book. Gerald and oh my god, I'm forgetting the other friend. Gerald and Garrus.
I'm not gonna
Drinkwater.
remember.
There's Drinkwater or something.
Garrus Drinkwater and Gerald whatever. His two friends are still around. They're still influencing things. We also needed Quentin to like be in the narrative because it funnels the Dorne plot, and then obviously him dying is going to really affect what happens going on later. I also think it's important to see how Daenerys's court functions from outside of the view of the people in it, and we could have gotten that from other people, but Quentin's coming in with a very particular perspective of her court, and seeing Daenerys as this like complete stranger was good. And I also think the character work with him was really well done. Like, I think he's a boring character, but within that arc, I think it was done really well. I think it's hilarious that this dude got roasted by a dragon. Like, I just think it's a funny fucking way. Like, he just was like, yeah, I can do it. No, you can't, man. Like, you didn't do it. All is to say, a very long-winded way of saying, when people say that these chapters are filler or that they were wasted, you're just being ridiculous. And then the other, so like, if we didn't have Quentin chapters and he just like a random prince showed up in Dorne and then got killed, people would be way angrier and be like, oh my God, he just like randomly showed up and got killed, and it's going to like really affect the plot. That was lazy. Like people just don't conceptualize how much worse that would be in the story. So, but yeah, he is pretty boring.
Yeah, he kind of he has the nimble dick problem. Nimble Dick's problem is that fundamentally for his character to work, he has to be annoying because he has to annoy Brienne. And Quentin has to be boring because Daenerys has to be bored by Quentin. Like if Quentin is exciting, then Daenerys does not have like exciting people who she is into and boring people who she's not into.
He also sets up the Volantis things with the slaves, which I think is going to be really important and wins, and I'm not sure exactly how. But when the Red Priestess or the she's a Red Priestess, I don't really remember, but the woman that's like tell Daenerys that we're waiting for her, all of the stuff that happens in Volantis.
Was that not Tyrion? No.
Oh my God, that was. Look at me.
Yeah, that was.
I got to do a reread. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, you guys heard it. It took 5 live streams, guys. It took 5, but I had egg on my face. It finally happened.
Yes. When you were saying that, I was like, wait, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that conversation was
No, I was completely mixing up whose chapter that happened in.
And I think they both serve a similar purpose that I think is quite helpful narratively, where from Daenerys's perspective, like the young Kai army seems very scary. And it's like, oh, we're outnumbered. Like, oh, this battle's going to be like really hard. And then every time we get a perspective of someone who like sees what's going on, for the people who are like, we're going to invade Marine, they're like, these people are fucked. Like Quentin sees the young Kai and he's like, bro, like it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I do kind of like it always like the other side always looks like they have good stuff going on until like you see it from that perspective and you're like, they are cooked. And I mean, the same thing for like, they're super worried about Volantis. And then it's like half of Volantis when they hear the name Daenerys is going all Lisan Al Galib, like this is Azor Ahai, like, so yeah, that's a cool purpose that they both serve. But yeah, he's just not as interesting as the other point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
I think in general, like with Essos is where the pacing like suffers in this book. Obviously, I wouldn't really call any of it bloat though. I guess the really only thing that I think is a little bit of bloat, and this is like just because of look behind the curtain, is knowing that George felt like he had to make Barristan a POV to get eyes there, and then the fact that we're giving Barristan like introspection and a backstory where like I know that he is just there for giving us the eyes within Marine. When
I could not disagree with you more.
I also am on team. I don't agree.
I like Barristan too. I just
so like yes, he was added as a POV, and then I think George was aware of all that stuff going on with Barristan. It's just that we like pre-writing Dance, he was just like, I'm not going to write this stuff out. Maybe before Barristan dies at some point, I'll have a line or two about him being like, yeah, at this tournament, I was like, I just don't think he made that up in Dance, or if he did, it was within the framework of what he was already doing. But I think he writes characters so well that like when he decided to make Barristan a POV, he was perfectly in place to just be like, okay, here's what I already know about this character, and then just branched it out naturally. And it allows us to get more hints about what happened at Robert's Rebellion, but not like answer too many questions. Like I do not believe at all that he just was like, oh, now I'll like invent things for Barristan to have been.
I'll even
it's a good arc. Like I'm not rolling my eyes at a Barristan.
Guess what? I just somehow disagree with David even more than Kyle does, kind of in a
okay.
way.
Let's hear it.
I think even if you were to grant the premise that I don't agree with, that he did not know the backstory with Barristan, and then he was like, oh, we need a Barristan plot to make this like to have eyes there, like, oh, I'll invent stuff. I still think it's good that he invented stuff, and it would have been worse if we had this dude named Barristan. It's like, okay, we have eyes there, and he was just like kind of exactly what he expected to do. This is actually a problem I have with some other books where it's like someone was like, clearly this character needs to exist functionally for the plot to exist, cough, Kutan Rovo, cough, cough. And then they forget that like it's fine if this character needs to exist for the plot to exist, but they also need to be. Their purpose should not be only to make the plot exist. Like they still should be a character.
I mean, also like Davos was created specifically because he wanted a POV on Stannis that wasn't Stannis.
Yeah, I
and
mean
Davos is like his own.
amazing.
Yeah, so like I just don't like. I kind of agree where it's like, sure, like you have to give a character internal monologues when you do, but like I'm just saying, if you were to ask him right now, let's use my favorite, Balon Swan. If you were to ask George, hey, what like makes Balon Swan tick, and he was like, I don't know, he doesn't like Dorne, and he's really good at fighting, I guess. And then in the 6th book, the stuff happening with Darkstar, Ariel Hoteza, but in the 6th book, he just needed a Balon Swan POV for whatever. I just think it would then be reasonable to be like, okay, well, we have to figure out what's going on. Like that's the moment where a character graduates and
Your
needs
bias
more.
aside, you have still sold me. Yeah, this wasn't really
That being
hurtful.
said, that would also
I'm also not gonna like. I wouldn't just submit to all arguments. Like that was very very fair.
I don't think you would
Um,
submit to all arguments, David. So
yeah,
Jamie Lannister.
Yeah.
I mean, considering you stand by your beliefs, considering you're keeping Jamie below Bran. I'd also like to note, if George included a Balon Swan point of view, he would be guilty of murder because Kyle would die. Like if Winds came out and he's halfway through and he turns the page and he sees Balon Swan.
Imagine
I
Balon Swan's a prologue, so you know he's dying from the first page.
That would really upset me. I mean, I know I would never want him to be a POV. I feel like there's no way he's interesting on the inside. Like he's interesting as like a side character that's just badass in the few times that he's around.
Okay.
Garland Tyrell though, that would be a good POV.
Yeah.
Sandor Clegane and Marjorie Tyrell are the 2 POVs I want.
Yeah.
That we probably won't get.
I would actually even like I would accept like a Marjorie epilogue. I think would be really great. Like if we do a version of the Winds Cathedral blow up, whatever that I don't think that'll actually happen in the show, but like or in the book, but something similar. But it's told through like an epilogue from Marjorie. I think that would be absolutely incredible.
That would be very good. I'm sorry. Derry asked me why I hate Jamie. I need to clear things up. I don't hate Jamie. Jamie is like my 7th favorite character in my favorite book series ever. But because he's not 1 or 2, I'm a criminal. Allegedly.
Yes, that is actually true.
That is actually correct.
It's not even
that was
top
not
5.
a straw man.
Top 7 is unreasonable. There's only half the POV characters. Like nobody's like Victorian Greyjoy so like half of them don't even count in top lists. It's like the main people.
Yeah. So do you remember for Feast?
The 6 that go above him? Like
1 second. So you know for Feast when I brought up the like Qyburn being like, and for that crime, like they banished me, and the crime was like 127 counts of first-degree murder. David is doing the same thing, and he's like, apparently doing this makes me a criminal, but it's actually something that makes you a criminal. So
okay. By the way, I just realized he's probably 8. To be honest, it's Tyrion's my favorite, easy. Jon Snow, Ned Stark.
Okay, Jon at number 2 is Wylan, but continue.
I'm good with Jon at 2. I love Jon.
Daenerys or Cersei, I like them very, very differently, but that's 4 and 5. And then Sam and Bran, I think both have to go.
That's just
above.
unreasonable. That's just
I don't know what to say. And then hovering around Jamie are like Davos. Probably not Davos actually. Brienne, of course, love Brienne.
All the good well, no, that's not
one
true.
of the other Starks, Arya and Sansa are great. Catelyn's very good. Catelyn's very good.
You put all the best characters besides Tyrion and Ned way too low, but that's okay.
Okay,
that's the beauty of this series.
Hold up, 1 second. I thought I was mad at David, and now I might be mad at other people. Why are we specifically taking issue with Jon being that high? Jon's awesome.
Jon being that high is unregular. Like that's all I can say. Like it's not.
Jon.
I like Jon a lot.
I have Jon that high. I just have Jamie above him.
And then I read the books, and Jon's internal monologue is so good with like his struggle to like be like Ned. Like,
Jake, hold on.
1 Jamie, 2 Jon.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. You guys are in agreement here. That's insane. Yeah. So he's one of the main characters. I don't think it's unreasonable for somebody to have him that high. I just I find it's actually pretty not that common. Like I find that he's a little bit low on people's rankings, generally speaking. But
maybe.
Yeah. So this was when I didn't read it for a while. I was like, oh yeah. And I guess Jon's like, probably. And I think I've mentioned this on like every book live stream that has Jon chapters. Every time I'm like Game of Thrones, I was like, Jon, hell yeah. And then Clash of Kings, I was like, Jon, hell yeah. I think it's
Storm of Swords where Jon becomes like really elite.
I really like him in all the books, but I mean, Dance,
I've always liked Jon.
I mean, I think he's my favorite character in Dance. Like Davos only has 4 chapters, but like they're all so good. Theon
very
has less
good.
chapters, and they're all so good. And Jon has a shit ton of chapters, but they're also so that's like my top 3 for Dance.
I
He's
actually
kind of
think like Davos's first 2 chapters don't do a lot for me. Like when I said like I still like them because Davos is the greatest, but like his dance stuff really hinges on 3 and 4 for me.
Yeah, so I know it's kind of maybe it was at the time of we were specifically talking about like how good the people were. I think him once again having the chance to bail and choosing to do something extremely likely to lead to his death was so like he very easily could have bailed with Salador Sand. Like a lot of people, it's
Absolutely
like, okay,
could have.
like
Yeah.
your options are go into this harbor. There's a really good chance they kill you. There's also a really good chance they send you to White Harbor, where there's a really good chance you're killed there. Or like go off with Salador Sam, go like run straight to where like your family is.
Salador Sam is the
I can't.
funniest
Salador
missed
Sam,
speak.
whatever.
I know, but I just said so funny. I wish that was his name.
And then yeah, obviously then like Davos 3 is amazing. I had the line for Davos 3 where Davos is criticizing himself for like his Hand of the King ability, for like his bad negotiating with the Manderleys, but he actually says like exactly the right thing that no one else would have said, where they ask like what like Stannis would offer them, and he says, "What does Stannis offer you? Vengeance. Vengeance for my sons and yours, for your husbands and your fathers and your brothers. Vengeance for your murdered lord, your murdered king, your butchered princes. Vengeance." And I'm like, Davos, you do not know that you just said exactly the right thing for who you were talking to, but you just said exactly the right thing for who you're talking to.
You know what my problem with doing these live streams is that I just really, really want to reread the series. I'm like, man, that's a good chapter. That's such a good chapter. Also, yeah, I kind of forgot how good the island chapter was. Like, I'm thinking about it now that Mitch mentioned it specifically. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That chapter is also badass.
That's in Storm of Swords, right?
No, that's in this one.
I mean, he has 2 chapters where he's on an island, but
sorry,
presumably...
I was thinking the island.
Sorry. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like,
I'm thinking about the fingers when he's talking to that guy with the webbed feet or whatever.
Yeah, I remember earlier when you were saying that I gave a very like politician-like answer. That's what Davos doesn't know how to do, and it's awesome because he just keeps it real.
Yeah,
he will give you the honest facts regardless of what he thinks you're looking to hear, and that's why Stannis made him Hand of the King.
You know, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, just like in regards to my personal life and just how certain media hits you in a certain way and stuff, and why A Song of Ice and Fire has been my favorite, is that like so people that aren't us, like unreasonable people, some of them say that A Song of Ice and Fire is grimdark. And I obviously don't agree with this at all. And I think one of the reasons that like A Song of Ice and Fire spoke to me so much as a teenager and like into adulthood is these characters like Ned, like Davos, you know, like Brienne, who they have opportunities to not do the right thing, but they do them anyway. They've had hardships, you know, and they just keep going. Bran falls off a wall and he wants to fly. All of these things happen. And like bad things happen to these people, and you know life is grim, but then they keep going. Like that's hopeful. Like I don't like when people tell. Well, you were telling me like just now about the time where Davos could have walked away and he goes in anyway, and I'm like, man, what a fucking guy. Like, and I'm just man, the series just gets me.
It's just impossible to call it grimdark without an ending. Like we've gotten out of George's sort of original 3 arcs.
I don't think it's a grimdark with what we have.
Yeah, Ian, go read A Clash of Kings. Get out.
Get out, Ian.
So, like, if you know, because the original split was Game of Thrones, Dance with Dragons, Winds of Winter, right? So those sort of 3 big plots. We've obviously leaned way heavier into the first all the political scheming stuff that has that has raised the stakes so high and like gotten us into all these horrible situations. I just think just because George keeps it real about how things go wrong doesn't mean that like for example in the fact that like when times are tough and like it isn't like birthright that is like ascending leaders to the top, like Mance Raider uniting everyone beyond the wall, like John becoming Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, the Starks like being kings in the North for years and years, like there is still like evident value of real leadership like coming to the top, and I think that's something really hopeful.
I need to defend my boy here because in fairness, I don't know if Davos actually believes in the blood magic part of this.
Yeah, there's just no way.
Like
Mitch is just trying to get us going.
He's being Mitch. Anyway.
Yeah.
By the way, great example of a really, really well-written character. One of the best in the series, maybe top 2 even, of someone who's given an opportunity to go off and take the easier path, maybe become the Lord of Winterfell, rise again as Jon Stark.
I am not a Jon slanderer. I'm nearly surprised you both have him that high. Like I was
surprised you both like.
Also, he carries this book in my opinion.
I was
love him in this
book.
I think he's great in this book.
That was the person who like both of you were like Jon, and I was like, wait,
yeah,
hold up, why is that one
is unreasonable? Like not unreasonable, but unlikely. Like I just didn't expect it. Also, Jake, though, I will say, Jake, you liking Jon that much is on brand because you are basic.
True.
You
I
like
Rand
basic
and Eye of the
shit.
World.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this motherfucker liked Rand immediately. So
it's true.
My only issue with Jon is that with everything that I had heard about Realm of the Elderlings, I had thought that Fitz was going to be like a Jon ripoff and put off the series for too long. And now I also love that series.
Hold up.
Fitz, I know it came first. Yes, I understand. Yes,
okay.
I misjudged. Yeah. Because I love that series too. And I also don't think that series is grimdark. It just keeps it real.
Yeah.
Another
people don't tend to call that one grimdark. I very specifically remember a video from Daniel Green where he's pacing around in his house yelling about how some people don't think that Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire is grimdark, and that if they don't, it's because they're too edgy. And I was like, is Daniel being not smart right now?
Okay, we need to talk about Jon's chapters in this book, because there's a lot of really, really awesome stuff going on there, and his chapters in this book are fantastically good. So I would like to talk about some of the things that I'd forgotten. Like Jon lost a lot of the stuff from like this book in the show, like just didn't appear. So this is like a Malazan term that I'm stealing, where there's the like hot iron, cold iron, and there's like some of the generals are like very like, we're gonna passion, we're gonna do violence, we're gonna charge. I really like how cold Jon is. I mean, he's Lord Snow, so it kind of makes sense. But he has so many moments in this book where he's very good at being quiet when the other person is loud. Like, it's just a random character detail where I'm like, this probably isn't that important to who Jon is, but just didn't exist in the show, where it's like Jon has multiple times as an amazing negotiator, just like he's stubborn. He also has a much more like interesting, I guess, fall at the end leading to the For the Watch thing, where he actually is like, I'm marching south, which just isn't really there on the show, but is so interesting because he's the person who's like, Jon and Daenerys in this book obviously have like the mirror. They've taken up a position of power and they're both in such a no-win situation. Like they're both just like, choice after choice is just like, this choice sucks, this choice sucks, what do you want to pick? And they're like, all right, we'll try and pick the slightly less sucky option. And he is very true to, like, he's very unconventional with his approach, and he's bad at communicating how clever some of his approaches are. Like, he doesn't tell anyone, like, actually, I negotiated funding from like the Iron Bank of Bravos, which, by the way, thanks Cersei for screwing that up. That actually is going to be kind of helpful. Your screw ups are having impacts that you could never anticipate. We love to see it. Also, there's the thing where there's some of like the practical parts of ensuring he doesn't get killed that he doesn't do. So one thing I noticed is he sends all the people who actually like him away, who
this
normally
is the dumbest,
people that keep close.
This is the dumbest thing he does for sure, by a long stretch. The
problem is he needs people who he trusts close to him, but he also needs people who he trusts to be competent, who are like further away. So it's like, yes, he should have kept Sam, or not Sam, Gren and Pip closer. And also Dolores Ed. Dolores Ed, by the way, if we all get our random side character who we choose to love unconditionally.
That's everybody.
Like, everyone loves Dolores Ed, though.
He's the greatest.
He's good.
Like, every line is great.
I just think The Wall has all the best side characters. Mance, Aemon, obviously I'm not, really in
Ulmer of the Kingswood, what?
Egret's great, callback, some of the major ones, but also just, I think Val is great.
I like Val a lot too. So one thing that I was going to say, so I'm rereading Will of the Many, which David DNF'd and Jake has not read. And I don't think Bookborn is still here, but we were talking about this literally today, and I was reading the book today. And so I just want to say, one of the things about that book that frustrates some people, me included, even though I love it, is that the main character like has flaws, but then those flaws don't actually like they impact him, but then they're not really big consequences. And I was just thinking while Jake was talking how so John is a really good leader. He does a lot of things right. He like the way that exactly you said, he negotiates. He actually is doing a really good job bearing the circumstances of bridging the gap between the wildlings and the Night's Watch. He has really good ideas. He is really thinking long term. But where his flaws are is this idealism mixed with reality. And this gets him every single time, and it results in really big consequences. So like he thinks that because he can see why it's important, and that the long view is that we need all of the people against the White Walkers, that then everybody will just fall in line. And he does not understand that like people just have lived their whole life with biases against wildlings. Maybe he like consciously understands, but he doesn't like live it. And so he just thinks because people are like, no, this is more important, that they're just not going to have any pushback. They're just going to get over their prejudices. And he thinks that because the Night's Watch, like he just like willingly just doesn't really pay attention to the fact that Commander Mormont was murdered not that long ago by Night's Watch brothers. And so he just like undervalues his own safety. He's like, no, I don't want guards. And people are like, you really need guards. I have to convince him to do it. And then he sends away all of his friends. And like, sure, he does need people that he trusts to go places, but he also needs just like competent people. So like the flaw there is he thinks, okay, well, the Night's Watch brothers sworn oaths. These are all my brothers. So clearly I'm not in harm, but he doesn't apply that to when they're away from him. Like obviously sending, like Alistair Thorne to govern something would be not ideal, but he uses Alistair for a different purpose. But like you could still send some of the Night's Watch brothers that aren't like your inner circle. They're just like competent people that have been there for 20 years and just have faith that they'll do the job. But he doesn't have that. He's like, I need my friends in those places. And that's what blinds him. It's just this constant idea that like the way that he sees things is the way that everybody's going to see things. And that does lead to very dire consequences for him. And it's just like very good character work. And it also leads to very good chapters with him because like I feel his frustration. I'm just like, man, like these people are acting so stupid. Like I want to punch Bowen Marsh in the face.
Yeah.
So much.
So like there's the part where he like sits down where he's like, if the wildlings die above the wall, they join the army of the dead. Like, bro, this is not this is not that.
Bowen Marsh is one of the dumbest characters on the fucking planet. Like, just like not like just so stupid.
So I need to go back to just real quick, Jake, because you said it like a while ago. But like one of the first things you said about John in this book was like him just being like super cool and collected, even when people are like screaming at him. You read this book more recently than me. And there was this scene that I remember being one of my favorite scenes, but now I can't find it, or just like little bits of dialogue, where John's like giving orders to like either Bowen Marsh or Yarwick or one of those scrubs, and they like curse him out, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that," like, or just some cold response. Do you remember what I'm talking about, or did I like make that up?
You didn't make it up.
I mean, there's one where they like, I think one of them, I don't think it's Bowen Marsh, says that like letting the wildlings in could be interpreted as him like breaking his oaths. And he's like, oh, like what oaths are that? And it's like those men, like it could be, I don't know. There's quite a lot of people trying to yell at John and him staying very like cool and collected. Like there's the negotiation with Tormund. Great scene. The negotiation with Tormund, where like all the Night's Watch
Incredible
people are like so mad at him for him letting this through and not being hard enough. And then Tormund is like, man, like you're super tough on this. And like, you do not budge at all. And like he does have like very reasonable safety measures in terms of that. Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I think the John not worrying enough about his own safety is kind of a similar problem Ned Stark has. And also some of like the villains have, where it's hard for them to picture people acting so differently from themselves. Where like John would never murder the Lord Commander, right? Like never.
Sure, but he did see a Lord Commander get murdered not that long ago.
But it's the same. Like Ned might see people scheming, you know what I mean? But like Ned in a Game of Thrones, like when he tells Renly they're going Littlefinger, like yeah, we're gonna go with Stannis. Like he doesn't even consider that Littlefinger is gonna pick like Cersei and Joffrey knowing that Joffrey isn't the real king. Like, it's just
Now,
and then it's the same in reverse, where it's like the Hound and Cersei, they believe that everyone is like kind of as cruel as they are, and it's hard for them to like imagine it not being. So he kind of has that problem that George writes that like pretty consistently, and I think it's a very realistic trait that he captures.
Yeah, I totally agree.
well.
I
I
think
think people
Ned
give
does
John the
kind of
short.
accept
Sorry, go ahead.
his- Oh, you're good. I was just gonna say, I feel like Ned kind of does accept his consequences until Varys points out his children to him. But I mean, in general, same kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I have a random scene that I'm now going to defend, which is one of the most memed on sections of A Song of Ice and Fire, which is the massive food description of all the food below the wall, where people like, George, did we really need to describe? Yes, Kat, you actually aren't hungry.
You know, I actually get on him about his food descriptions all the time, but this one doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
this one seems like very necessary.
This one is narratively awesome. And it's
Yeah.
actually a really cool narrative. It starts off with describing a truly insane amount of food. Like, and it has to be a truly insane amount of food, because the thing that makes it narratively effective is then like one paragraph later, Bowen Marsh is like, we don't even have close to enough food, man. And you're like, holy shit, that's not close to enough food. So anyway, that's really good. Another thing I wanted to note is it was interesting seeing how remote the North is to the Southern Lords. Like when Stannis is like planning some of the battles and are just like not really that familiar with how tough of a castle like the Dreadfort is, and some stuff that you would think for like Northern Lords would be like pretty basic. And it's a cool reminder, because for us, it's like the Seven Kingdoms that for most of the history, like the North is kind of doing its own things. And even Stannis is like a very good general who you'd think would be pretty up on like the relative strength of castles among people in Westeros.
For sure. Yeah.
And he's like way less aware of it than Jon is. There's so many good stuff for Jon.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on there. A lot. Like I really like, and like even the whole like Alice Karstark thing and how he marries her to the Thenn to then like help bridge the gap. Like I just think there's a lot of really interesting things going on there. Also, shout out to my man Tywin. I really like Tywin as a minor character. I really hope that he is gonna make it in wins. And yeah, I just I think okay. So here's the thing. I think. Do you guys think that we're gonna get Jon chapters in wins, or do you think Melisandre was kind of setting up to?
No, I think we're getting Jon chapters that start as ghost chapters.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's
I guess
also this is also why a lot of people are like, Jon is going to be so changed when he comes back. Because like, look at Lady Stoneheart. I think the rules might play a little differently if you're able to reside in your wolf. I don't know. We'll see. But just open possibilities.
I wonder if there's a comparable scene in some other series. We can't talk about it though, because spoilers.
Derry knows what.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys came very close to spoiling.
Yeah, I probably.
Like,
I think
I'm
just hoping now people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
I know. I went to, but I can't undo my own actions. I don't have a rewind button, sadly. Everyone, don't try and figure out what I just said if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Also, people assume this is random.
Throwing out like that, like my grounds were just based on like I think there's some speculation that Rob was like went into Grey Wind at the end of Storm of Swords, or like I don't know it's a possibility. Sorry, Kyle, keep going.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say like so. I think that's a totally reasonable. Like it's a very popular theory. I don't think it's wrong. I think like what is more like if I was to guess what's actually gonna happen, I feel like we're gonna go like half or more of the novel, something like that, with no like Jon's just going to be like a body in the ice cells or something like that while people fight, or we just hear from Melisandre or like whatever's going on there. And then I think later on in the book we will get a chapter, and like most of that chapter will be Ghost, and then at the end like we'll get something like realizing it's Jon or something like that.
Kind of interesting though, like unless Melisandre specifically causes it, is you'd think if it doesn't happen pretty fast, that the Night's Watch would burn his body because of the whole burn all the body of the dead so they don't come back as whites. And like Jon deliberately kept a couple corpses in the ice cells, but I don't think anyone else was a fan of that plan. So I don't know why like Bowen Marsh and the Night's Watch would choose to keep his corpse.
Okay. I totally agree. I've actually never thought through that thing. That the narrative logistics of that are interesting. However, when you mentioned Bowen Marsh, this is my chance to get Bowen Marsh is going to be killed like immediately in wins. Like people keep saying like they'll be like, oh well, like John was the 998th Lord Commander or whatever, and then Bowen Marsh is going to be the next one, and then that the 1000th. Like no, guys. Bowen Marsh knows that he is sacrificing his life for this plan. Like there's no like even if most of the watch thought John was
He's crying, right?
Yeah, he's crying, and it's like for the watch, and it's like even if they thought that John needed to go, like the majority, they would still be like, but you still broke your oaths. Like Bowen Marsh is dying in the first like chapter or two in the like that's just unless like an eagle saves him, but other than that guy's gone.
The
Like
Eagles are coming.
He's not going to be Lord Commander on God.
And also I will give Bowen Marsh is very frustrating in his inability to accept that the wildlings and the army of the dead are not like a comparable level threat. Yes. I will now give full credit to him that when John is approaching the wildlings very differently than he does, he says why he disagrees, but does not resort to murder. The thing that resorts him to murder is John getting involved in Southern politics. And I do think he bears, like, he gets some credit of, like, John was kind of betraying the Watch. Actually, not kind of. John was betraying the idea of the Watch. Like, he was a Lord Commander marching south. And you could kind of be like, okay, he was trying to go, like, maybe he could have been doing it to, like, try and avert conflict. But he was not doing that.
He was acting
He was going to
very
confront.
selfishly.
He was going to act in Southern politics as the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch.
I don't know if I fully agree. Like, I agree with you, like, in maybe the macro
I'm not
sense.
saying he was justified, but, like, you got to give him some credit.
No, I'm talking about the John part.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think other people, like to a man, all reasonable people working up information of what John's doing would agree that he's breaking his oaths. I don't think us, the people reading the book, having access to John's thoughts and all of the context, I don't think he's breaking his oaths. He is not ordering the Night's Watch to go south. He's specifically bringing other people, and he is trying to like keep conflict. Like he's trying to stop them from coming there where there's no defenses.
Yeah,
and then killing.
Ramsay does sound like a real threat to the.
Yeah, I don't
Watch
see
itself.
like to steal man away. Like what would you do if you got that? And
Yeah,
like be like, okay, well we ignore it, and then an army shows up and kills all the Night's Watch for not like. Then that's like I just don't see him as betraying his vows. I do agree that it's super reasonable for other people to think that he is, though.
Yeah, I think it's that I guess you could be like, there is just no way of him protecting the Watch without getting involved in Southern politics because the Southern politics are getting involved in him.
So Derry's disagreeing with me. He's not leading Night's Watch people. He is leading volunteers.
That being said,
like I think that's different to me.
I think even like, so here's the question. So obviously he's the Lord Commander and technically could like order Night's Watchmen to go south, and that would be overtly getting involved in Southern politics. I think like if he wasn't the Lord Commander, him going by himself, as we saw in a Game of Thrones, to get involved in Southern politics as a sworn brother of the Night's Watch is a betrayal of his vows.
We are in agreement.
Think even if he's the Lord Commander and he's choosing not to order people, him going by himself, even if he didn't bring any men, and so is him getting involved in Southern politics. So whether he brings
where we disagree.
Okay.
So the reason I disagree there is because now that he's the Lord Commander, he is his own boss essentially. So he gets to decide if what he's doing is representative of the Night's Watch. So like the reason that it's betraying his oaths as a Night's Watch brother in Game of Thrones is that while he's not explicitly ordered to not go south and help Rob,
would not approve.
It is obviously that he's going against the Lord Commander's wishes. So he is breaking his oath by going south and doing that. But let's use a different example of a Night's Watchman getting involved in politics. Yoren. I think all reasonable people at the Watch would agree that Yoren defending himself from Amory Lorch and killing Kingsmen was reasonable in those circumstances.
Okay.
So in that sense, Yoren is acting, quote unquote, like killing King soldiers would be getting involved in politics in some way. But I do think if like, there was like a referendum of the leadership of the Night's Watch, they would be like, yeah, I mean, you were defending yourself. So there is a way for the Lord Commander to be like, yes, that particular action was justified.
So yeah, you could say if it is, it's tough because Yeah, okay, that's a good. At first I took issue when you were like, because it's his own boss, he can do it. Like if he thinks that it's in the best interest of the Night's Watch, and I was going to be like, okay, that would mean that he could order men of the Night's Watch south if he thought it was in the best interest of the Night's Watch, because like he's his own boss. But I do think he does have the in his head and outside the you can make a strong case that what he's doing is still for the benefit of the Night's Watch. Even though it's also because like
it is an extremely tight line. And actually, let's say it played out. Like clearly it's not going to play out. I think it would almost certainly play out in a way where he's somehow betraying his oaths. Like I don't think it would work out in a way where I could argue that he wasn't betraying his oaths. But in terms of the intentionality of doing it and where we were when it happened, I don't think he's betrayed his oaths.
I have a question for you. It's a hypothetical, so there's no right or wrong answer. And the question for you is, if he knew Arya was not in Winterfell and that the person in danger was not like not just his relative, but like maybe his favorite living relative, do you still think he would have gone south to confront Ramsay?
I
don't think he would, and I do think this is why
reason that's a thing.
Like he has motivations that aren't totally pure, but I do think like in terms of the actions, like I don't think there's a way. To be fair, the situation wouldn't work if it wasn't Arya, because like he's.
What
I
about
guess
Sansa?
we could argue. I think he still would. That's his family.
Sansa, Sansa, I feel like is like the sibling that he would be able to easily like say to himself, "I have no siblings now. I'm a brother of the Night's Watch."
Because like, I do think
she's like the cornerstone.
The difference between the reason I ask is like if what he's doing in his head is for the benefit of the Night's Watch, it shouldn't really matter if Arya is in danger or not.
I agree with you.
So I think if that changes it, that is like a case of like, okay, maybe it's like he can make an argument that this is for the Night's Watch, but like the real, I think there's a pretty strong case that the real reason he's going is to save Arya, and if the real reason he's going is to save Arya, or even the
I think the real reason is both. Like I do think like we've seen the whole book that he really cares about the Watch. He's taking the long view. He obviously does not want Ramsay to march an army up there and start killing people and stuff. And he's also spent the whole book trying to not get involved. So yeah, like Arya being there definitely like pushes it in the favor of it. But I do think the answer would be both. Also, can you highlight Derry's answer here? Because I want to respond to it real quick. So she says Yoren is low on the power rank and Jon being the Lord Commander. Okay, but just replace Jon with Yoren in that situation. If Jon was for whatever reason going south as like a delegate, as the Lord Commander, like he is the Lord Commander, he's going there, and then people attacked him in a fort and he killed people, he would still be like, he's the Lord Commander in that situation, but he would agree it was justified. All I'm saying is that the Lord Commander is capable of making the distinction of when or not somebody's justified, and it's usually for defense purposes. And so Jon thinks this is defense purposes, which remains to be seen if it was.
One thing I want to point out, it is true that he spends this entire book trying to stay not involved. It is also true that he rides the line of staying not involved. Like setting up the marriage with Alice Karstark is already like highly riding the line of getting involved in Southern politics, and maybe is already getting involved. Like when he sends the Karstark dude to the ice cells, I was already like, bro, are you sure this isn't getting involved in Southern politics, Jon?
Well, okay, that guy came into their place with hostile intentions. I can kind of see that. I actually think arranging the marriage is worse. It's really hard for me. Like I think that's like a toe over the line.
Yeah, like that's pretty sketchy.
It's just such murky waters because like he's like heavily trying to voice the position that like it's in the best interest for everyone on our side of the wall to equate with the wildlings, or maybe equate's not the right word, but you know what I mean. So obviously the argument is that it plays into that, as you know, the Night's Watch, particularly Jon himself, is serving that purpose. But yeah, I agree.
This was kind of, I feel like, separated the difference between Yoren and Jon and their actions. Like if Yoren had gone south to try and kill a southern, like a lord who
so I'm not talking about the actions in and of themselves. I'm talking about the fact that Yoren did get involved, and like I think people would find it reasonable. Jon is going south. He's not going south with men, and so that's why I said you could argue he's going south to try to not have a conflict happen, but that he needs people to defend him and he didn't want to involve the Watch. Like, that's an argument you can make. Now, once he gets there, I think that line really breaks down. Like, that's why I'm saying I think it would be very hard for him to not end up breaking his vows, because Ramsay's going to do some crazy shit and it's going to like make John, like something would happen there in that situation where I would be like, yeah, you've like unequivocally broken your vows. But the point in which he was at, I don't think he has broken his vows.
Okay, I have to mention a thing that I wrote down from the John thing because I have not heard it before, and I'm sure Kyle has, and I want to hear his thoughts on it. So, 600 years ago, Hardhome exploded, and ashes rained down on the haunted forest and the shivering sea alike for almost half a year. Does that not sound like a smaller scale version of the Doom of Valyria?
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
okay.
100%. I don't think we'll ever get answers about what the Doom of Valyria was. I think it probably had something to do with volcanoes of some sort. Like, I don't think just like regular volcanoes, but some sort of volcano-y like thing, right? And I think whatever happened at Hardhome seems like a smaller version of that. If I was to just make a guess, I feel like, let's say there was, 75 of these magic volcanoes or whatever in Valyria. Maybe there was just one in Hardhome, so that like happened there, but it wasn't enough to cause a cataclysm. It just was like
also,
a smaller.
I think, isn't 600 years ago more years ago?
Yeah, it is more years ago. Doom of Valyria was.
Oh, it was 300 years ago. Yeah, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, was it like was it a
400-ish.
test run of the Doom of Valyria almost?
A test run. Well, that implies there's an agent.
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting. I've never thought of this. If we think the Doom of Valyria was caused by Bravos, which I'm not saying it wasn't, Hardhome could be close to Bravos. Here we go. We're cooking.
Now,
Could be. And you know what? I bet Cold Hands is Sir Duncan the Tall.
Anyway,
I think to take away the agency there, I'll just throw in that like some of the phenomena that like natural phenomena that seem to happen on the far like east side of the world, like there is some similar geographical occurrences and stuff going on in the far west. For example, on the Iron Islands, I think their throne is of the same material as something from Ashai or Valyria or something. Kyle, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I was also just reading Derry's comments, so I was a little distracted.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, regardless, this whole like agents are involved thing is much more interesting. So you guys go.
I agree.
I have a very random topic which I just wrote down. I think I have a case which the members of the members of what house are on average the most annoying? Not
Frey.
Evil, annoying.
Frey.
Freys just have so many people, and like they don't all.
Freys have a
suck.
lot of evil, but they also have a lot of
House
annoying.
Florent.
Yeah.
Yes. I think all of them are annoying. Besides maybe Sam's mom. Like, I guess. I mean, we haven't seen her on page, but.
Yeah. I randomly wrote this down because there's the Florent dude being super annoying at the watch, and I was just like, "Shut up! Your entire
fucking Axel,
house
like, just the worst.
So useless."
I think it's gotta be Frey. There's so many of them because of Walder.
Okay, are we talking about instances of being annoying, or are we talking about percentage of? Because like, there's a lot of non-annoying Frey interactions, but I feel like almost every single time a Florent opens their mouth is annoying.
And we're not counting people that married in but aren't blood related, such as Jamie's aunt, or are we? Because she's cool.
I don't know. Jake's the one that asked the question.
I don't know. Actually, I might have found the conversation you were talking about earlier with John, by the way, going through the notes.
Oh, please, just tell me what page it's on.
I don't know what page. I think it's John 11. Is it Bowen Marsh asking John if they will trade the hostages with arms? And John's like, no, we're going to train them to knit, you idiot. Like, yes, of course we're going to train them with arms. Like,
no, I don't exactly remember the subject material, but it's like John says they're going to do something.
I fully remember the conversation happening. I just don't remember what the context is.
Yeah, someone is like says something like super out of line, and he's like, or like hot-headed, and he's like, yeah, like, sorry, like, I don't.
Ah, damn. All right.
I need to find it, but. Yeah, it's not John like explaining himself. That it's the opposite of that.
I agree
by the way,
that
this is
Brackens
funny.
are also insufferable.
This is funny because I just scrolled through
That's true.
me writing in my notes. In my completely unbiased opinion, the Blackwoods
No,
are
the
poopy heads.
Blackwoods are-
Quote,
no,
Lord
the
Jonas Bracken.
The Blackwoods
No, the Blackwoods
cool,
are cool.
Mitch.
Yeah,
the
Titus
Blackwoods are
Blackwood.
really-
yeah,
yeah.
Blackwoods are always cool.
He's a Blackwood.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Blackwoods are cool. It's so clear how much George likes the Blackwoods. And then whenever somebody's like, is there like a minor house you like? He's like, well, I've always liked House
staying
Blackwood.
in House Blackwood.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's good enough for John, who is a totally reasonable person to have as a top 2, a Song of Ice and Fire character. Go David. Even if
I didn't say it's
Jamie is better than him.
unreasonable.
A totally unsurprised. Maybe it's a touch surprising. I'm seeing if there's anything else I wrote that I specifically wanted to talk about for John.
Does that tie into the Great Northern Conspiracy? Because I know Kyle wanted to talk about that, or would you rather hold?
Sure.
That's
I
more
mean,
of a
we're close to
Stannis
the
thing.
north.
Yeah.
Do we want to move to the north?
Yeah.
The northern plot.
It's
absolutely
geographically
rules.
close. We're trying to optimize our path.
So the northern plot absolutely is the plot line in Dance and Feast that makes me most do the "look how you massacred my boy" meme to seasons 5 and 6 of Game of Thrones. It is so depressing how much they simplified it and how they just removed so much of what makes it cool.
I also think like it's boring in the show, and it's also like they made like this would be a problem in general with the show where they just made people less like dynamic looking as like side characters, which is fine. But in the North, I feel like every person in the North looks exactly like one of like, you know, like a non-PC of just like they have like 3 different types. That's just all of the people in the North. They're all just like old men with beards or like bald men.
It's funny
And
because they cut the Great John after season 1, who's like one of the more dynamic actors there.
Yeah. And it's just like everything is so drab and gray, and it's like that's fine because that's the North, but then they don't differentiate anybody. Like they'll get a lord from the North and they'll all act and be the same except Lyanna Mormont, who is kind of just like a caricature. And I'm just like, man, the North has so many interesting little small characters going on there.
And it was one of the most easy for them to actually implement, because like if you want to argue, you don't want to bring in like the new Dorne characters or like Essos characters, like you don't know what we're doing with them, or like it's too much bloat, sure, for the show purposes. But we know all of the relevant lords in the North. They come in that season 6, episode 10 scene where like they all like declare John king in the North, like whatever. Like it's all relevant.
Yeah, they actually have a Wyman Manderley, and he's just
who's very
he's
good.
Nobody. Like he's a like when I say a nobody, I just mean like he doesn't like if you ask 1 million people that just watch the TV show, like on average, like or I mean on random, like 9,999,997 of them would be like, I have no idea who Wyman Manderley is. That's how
I think you're
nobody
overestimating how many people would know who Wyman Manderley is. I don't think you.
I think no. There's for sure
actor.
random distribution. There's 3 really big nerds that watch the subtitles on and got
it.
Who
didn't read the book.
Actually,
yes, they didn't read the book.
I don't think they call him Wyman at any point, so probably not.
Yeah,
it
would just be Lord Manderley. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. He's very good. I think the actor could have probably pulled all that
for sure. I'm
just
more about like how they just did nothing with any of the potential that they had there.
Yeah. And I mean, there's just so many dynamics that Theon's okay. Shut up, Theon. The Theon stuff, obviously. Well, the good news is we get in Theon 1, and it looks like he's had a rough time. But then he thinks to himself that his lord is merciful and kind. And I was very relieved by that because I was really worried about him. It seemed like he was in a tough spot. And I was very happy to see that his lord was very merciful and kind. And then I just skimmed the rest of his back.
We're actually not in Theon 1 yet. We're in Reek 1.
That's true. I called them for organization. I called them all Theon. But of course, like when you get the chapter that's Theon, it's
unbelievable,
like, truly glorious.
I remember the moment that I turned the page and I saw Theon. Like I vividly remember being like, oh my God, his name is Theon again. It was very powerful for me.
So Ramsay's a dick. That's true. Let's see. There is one, I think, there's a lot of really interesting conversations. I think Theon's conversation with Roose Bolton is very interesting. Like Roose kind of is obviously horrible, and you almost get some tiny semblance that he feels some tiny amount of gratitude. Like, don't get me wrong, if it was politically convenient, he would still murder Theon and like after flaying him. But I'm almost like, was he like was acting like he had some gratitude, and I kind of get the sense that he actually is moderately grateful to the role that Theon played in like Roose Bolton ending up being the Warden of the North. And he's just kind of like, do you agree, or do you think it was purely manipulation?
I think he's probably grateful, but yeah, like I agree with you, Reed. And also, like Roose Bolton is such a good character, like just truly incredible. I wish there was more focus on him over his dumbass son. Like his son is just very basic, like evil, but very basic. And I'm like, there's a lot of people think, and they're probably right, that Roose is going to be killed by Reek early on and wins, and then it's just going to be, Roose is going to be killed by Ramsay, and then it's just going to be Ramsay. I'm like, that's just like a really boring way of going, and I hope they don't, even though I think that that's what's going to happen. But
I like the part where Roose is not actually mad. Like, he doesn't ever tell Ramsay to not be evil. He's just like, man, you gotta hide that you're just the worst better. Like,
yeah.
Like that's his problem. His problem is that he's like, yeah, whatever. All the stuff you're doing, like, totally acceptable. But like, come on, man. Be a little more subtle about it. I mean, that would be very like Ramsay is very creative in his evil. I think he's like Book Ramsay is a much worse tactician and strategist than Show Ramsay. Ramsay in the show is also like quite clever, and Book Ramsay feels like Stannis is definitely has a much better chance if Ramsay kills Roose. Like if Stannis heard that, he'd be like, okay, so they're cooked. Like
Ramsay did actually have more time to develop in the show because we had the Theon stuff going on during the
I just think like baseline, he's smarter. Like, I mean, he's just a more competent character, which makes sense for a TV show. But I still give me 20 good men just ruins my fucking life. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so much about that ruins my life. But then what is the? I mean, man, the Theon chapter, they're so good.
They're so good. I think.
Yeah, and also one of the best instances of George like actually playing with the names very effectively.
Yeah,
like names of chapters.
That Sansa, Arya, for sure.
I do have to say,
those are the big three, and the rest, what do you don't?
Have you done the combined edition read?
I have, yeah.
Is it very cool to watch Theon go from Reek to Theon at the same time as you watch Sansa go from Sansa to Elaine and Arya like go in the reverse direction? To have like, because I have them separate, and I feel like it's cool that they're.
I do think, like in general, the themes of the two books just like make themselves a lot more clear, including the names and identity and all that stuff. Like, I don't think like it works the same because Theon is going to more to himself, and the others are just like mid arc in that way. Because like even if like so the reverse would be like Sansa being Sansa, and then right at the very end being Elaine. But it's kind of like she's Elaine. So like, yes, in terms of the general themes of what he's doing, but I don't think it's like, oh my God, and Sansa's Elaine now. It's more just like a cumulative effect.
It is kind of like Theon does have like intermediate ones. Like he doesn't just go like Reek, Theon.
Yeah.
He's the Turncloak and something else.
Prince of Winterfell.
Yeah.
Wait, Prince of Winterfell, is that one? Or am I losing it?
You know what was kind of like, it's very satisfying when Theon starts judging people for being an idiot in this book. Because Theon is very arrogant, right? Like in Clash of Kings. Like he thinks he's cleverer than everyone else. And then Reek is like so meek and obviously like so like thinks absolutely nothing of himself because he's been like tortured into it. And when he's in Winterfell and he's been a little bit separated from Ramsay and like the phrase and the people are being like idiots, when he starts judging them, that was such a cool moment of being like, that's Theon. Like we are so back. He's arrogant again.
So the character writing in the whole series is very, very good, obviously, but the Theon stuff is just so well written. I just can't say enough.
Yeah, I mean, I want to throw in like no bias here, like, and feel free to disagree. I do think Jamie is a better example of your opinion changing on the character, but I think Theon is a better example of like character change and development. Given this book,
don't agree.
Okay, Because
So, okay,
I think
that's two
Jamie
different
started at a
statements.
better.
That's two different
Jamie
statements.
started at a better moral point, but we just weren't necessarily seeing it. Though he does develop a lot. With Brienne
Say
and
them
blah, blah, blah.
again, because you said two different things in there. So the first thing you said was
I
Jamie's a
think
better character development.
Jamie is a better instance of the audience's opinion changing on the character throughout the series.
Yes, I agree with that.
But I think Theon is a more drastic, better or better, I'd probably argue both, example of character change and development due to the
I
arc.
would disagree there because I think there's less interior work going on with Theon and there's more trauma, which is not
Okay,
like
that's
okay.
fine
So like
too.
Jamie
no,
had something happen
actually
to
really
him.
valid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie had something happen to him, and then he then is like, "Who am I without my hand?" And he's like had to change and figure that out. Whereas like Theon has also changed a lot, but Theon has changed a lot because of like literally just like classical conditioning. Like he got tortured if he was himself,
right.
and then it's like now he's trying to like find his way. Like really, he's trying to go back to the way he was, and he can just never be that guy again. So there has been change, but it's just a different type of change.
So I think I'd still like stand by more drastic, but better. I mean, I can see
one
the Jamie
one
argument
kind of
too.
weird thing for Theon, like, and that it works. I guess it's not that weird because he goes through so much horrible stuff. Is he starts off like very, very unlikable, and we are now at the point where we're cheering for him to change somewhat back to who he was, who's like a kind of arrogant dickhead, but hopefully with less child murder this time. We're hoping to decline.
Did you say that Theon is likable now?
No, I didn't say that. I said we're cheering for him to become more like Clash of Kings Theon, who sucks.
Okay, yeah, okay. No,
so
I agree. Yeah.
It's kind of like it's weird that he's gotten us to cheer for someone to become someone who's like a very arrogant, self-centered shithead.
Yes. Although I don't think that he will, like, I don't think that will be what happens.
No,
like,
he won't.
He's definitely changed a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't. But
the Advocate
that's
makes a
like
good
what
point.
he's.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh, I mean, it's incredibly good. When he the last Ash chapter.
I cried when he says, "My name is Theon. You have to remember your name."
It's like wildly, truly, fantastically good.
Yeah. And of course, Asha has no idea. Like that, there's also like inherent comedy to the situation that you don't feel in the moment. You have to like, you kind of have to pull back. Where it's like Asha just like randomly sees her brother looking like 100 years old and tortured, raving like a maniac, and then being like, "My name is Theon," and she's like, "Okay, buddy, okay." But we, the reader, are like, "Oh my god, his name is Theon."
Yeah, I mean, Asha is a well-written character. There is the thing where it's like, she knew he got captured and was killed, and kind of shelved it, and then was kind of like, "Ooh, his existence could invalidate the Kingsmoot." It's kind of like, should probably rescue him. Like, man, could we have rescued him earlier? He's been through some shit, man.
I will say she should have rescued him sooner, but like also she didn't know he was alive until like like she found out he was alive, and then it was like, oh yeah, there's going to be a Kingsmoot, and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the Kingsmoot, which isn't that unreasonable of a decision.
I think there is a period after. I mean, like, there's a period after the Kingsmoot where she's kind of like, yeah, it's tough that Theon's like probably dead. And then someone brings up like the precedent of like, you could use the existence of Theon to invalidate the Kingsmoot. And it's kind of like, maybe I do love my brother. And it's like, she tried to rescue him in the show. She did not try and rescue him in the book.
Yeah, in the show, that's a really good scene, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially
unless Darius talking about just like literally showing up and be like, Theon, leave. Like that's not.
I guess I mean, she tried to rescue him when he was like Winterfell, not from like Ramsay.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, logistically, the scene in the show makes absolutely no sense.
Ridiculously
because how long
stupid.
She had to sail. It was not a great scene. I disagree with David. It sucks. And also, she just stands there as he opens the keys with the dogs. It's like, bro.
As you should be, Jake. Like, this is not a knock. This is a compliment. You get very hung up on logistical things, which I also do in some niche areas like time travel and prophecy and things like that. So
I get more upset with like as they break logistics more, I become more and more angry with it.
Yeah.
Where it's like if they
okay.
had that one logistics break and then for the rest of the show they remained consistent instead of the
Oh well, I
logistics.
mean, logistics
But
fall off a cliff as soon as they split from the books. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they just kind of forgot about logistics. Like
Okay,
kind
I
of
can't.
forgot
so
about the
it's not
Iron
that deep.
Fleet.
I will. Okay, so we're not going to rehash our entire live about Battle of the Bastards, but I will say Jake and I are really much in accords of like how like stupid logistics can really bother. But Jake is way more bothered in Winds of Winter. So like the episode, The Winds of Winter. So
Well, I'm extremely bothered by both.
Yeah.
The difference is just you like the episode The Winds of Winter, so we talk about the
yeah, no, I know.
stuff I'm known by.
I'm just glad that I've found a community of people that probably are more inclined to agree that The Watchers on the Wall is a better episode than Battle of the Bastards.
That's
Yeah.
just true. Like I just
Yeah.
hate
Yeah,
this narrative.
but like, but before I talked to people that read the books, everyone's like Battle of the Bastards is the
I
best
think
episode.
every scene of
Yeah.
Watchers on the Wall is better than every scene of Battle on the
It's probably my favorite
there's
episode.
one shot. There's one shot in Battle of the Bastards where John is.
Yeah, that shot is
that's a
fucking
really
sick, man.
fucking
I
good-
can't
it's a very
lie.
good
When he
episode.
sees the cavalry charging before him and he's out in the open and he like drops the sword belt, like I can't lie, that
There
was
is
pretty
some good
fucking
moments.
sick.
I think
Yeah.
it has a lot more corny moments than most of the other battles. And just in general, like I do enjoy watching it because like unlike
I love the comments right now.
Yeah, so do I. When I'm reading, I'm like way more into like character and dialogue scenes than action scenes. But like I've found the episodes of the show I go back to rewatch are like probably Watchers on the Wall I've probably seen like 20 times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm the
that's
same
my
way
favorite
with
Blackwater
Blackwater. Like
is
I watched
great.
Blackwater a
Yeah,
ton, and like Battle of the
Blackwater is
Bastards,
great.
or not Battle of the Bastards. Watchers on the Wall. The advocate asked earlier to just. I'm gonna satisfy him and Mitch and talk about this stupid ass love triangle. Christopher Botley's baby. There's a theory that Asha is pregnant with Christopher Botley's baby. I don't care about this. I think it would make the story worse in probably every way. Like I don't see a reason for it to exist as an interesting concept. But I'm sure you could have told me other things that would have existed, and I would have told you it wasn't interesting, and then it was interesting. But it just seems like there would be no narrative reason for that to be a thing. So I think I lean against it. And that love triangle is stupid. Christopher Botley is annoying, and Carl the maid is awesome. There's my stance.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Okay, what else? North stuff. Did we forget any POVs?
Well, we haven't talked about Stannis yet.
Yeah, Stannis.
We didn't talk about who wrote the pink letter, but I don't really need to. But that's John related. I'm guessing we've bounced off that.
I don't know.
I don't care. I care, but I just.
Me either. It's just.
I don't have a take that I feel strongly about. Okay, so my question is, if Stannis had just marched straight on Winterfell right away, would he have taken it? Like without going to Deepwood Motte first?
When did he pick up the traitor? I feel like that's very relevant. He's with, I think, Karstark's with him. Kyle, you would know. There's someone who's with him.
What is your question?
I mean,
there's someone who is with Stannis right now who does not like Stannis.
Yeah, like Arnold Karstark or whatever.
Oh,
yes, Karstark. Yeah,
Karstark,
yeah.
And you're asking when he picked him up?
Yeah. If this has to do with answering,
it would have been on the way. I don't think we would have known exactly. Maybe it's mentioned in like an offhand line of dialogue. But so Stannis leaves the wall, and then the next time we see Stannis is when he's in Deepwood Motte from Asha's perspective, and then Asha's a captive. So I don't know. Like in some point in that, he got Arnulf Karstark, probably on the way to Deepwood Motte is my guess. So that would be my guess, but I don't remember the exact.
Oh, I have to get something off my chest for Asha Greyjoy. So I'd like to preface all this that I know objectively trying to hold Winterfell was a bad plan from Theon. Okay? And holding Deepwood Motte was more reasonable. That being said, Theon held Winterfell for longer than Asha held Deepwood Motte if you measure from when it got attacked to when it fell. She held that castle for about 2 minutes. Like that wasn't even an attempt to defend.
She was chilled to the Glovers. We'll give her
Yeah.
credit.
Well, I mean, her argument for why Deepwood Motte would be easier to defend is based on like not literally surviving an assault, but being
Yes.
resupplied from sea and stuff like that.
And
See
it's
ya, Mitch.
true that it can be resupplied from sea and that it is in a better location for them to defend. But I would just like to point out that Winterfell is so vastly more defensible as an actual castle. And
Definitely. I don't think anybody, including Asha, would have defended.
And that if Asha had, like, I know it would have been a Hail Mary, but the safe way didn't really work either. So I'm saying that the Hail Mary might have worked. And if they'd actually committed to defending Winterfell, they would have held it longer than they held Deepwood Motte.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, so this is in the weeds, but one of my favorite game series is Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where you try to take over China and you have all these different like cities and stuff. And in the 9th one, if you convince the commanding officer of one of the other cities to join your force, the whole city like comes under your force. So like say like, you know, if you're like a force in the south and there's like 20 cities away from you, you convince that random commander to like change his loyalty to you. You just get the whole city, but then you have a problem where like you have no way to resupply that city because it's like so far. Exactly what happens with Winterfell. And all I'm saying is 100% of the time I would keep that city because it's worth it to have it for options. And I know that it's a video game and not real life, but I'm just saying if you have Winterfell, try to keep Winterfell.
And I'm just saying Winterfell is one of like the 4 most defensible castles in Westeros. It's actually ridiculously defensible. It doesn't make sense how big the walls are. George is cooking because he likes huge castles. I love that for him. Castle Rock is also cool. I like seeing on the books. But yeah, I would just like to say shout out to my man Theon, who absolutely took a Hail Mary and it didn't work and it went really badly for him. But I stand by the fact that if the entire Greyjoys had been behind that Hail Mary, it would have they would have held it for longer than they did Deepwood Motte. For marching on Winterfell, I mean like immediately, like before Deepwood. So most of the drama happens on the super long march from Deepwood Motte to Winterfell, where they get like stuck in the winter storm. I mean, like if they just went to Winterfell before the gathering at Winterfell happened.
Yeah, I also think it would depend on if he picks up the tribes first. Like I think the tribesmen are pretty important to him.
Winterfell was just like abandoned.
Yeah.
At the start of the book.
And obviously, like he's so fucked now in terms of just like how much snow and how low the morale is, and his men are weak, and they have no horses and stuff like that. That has obviously impacted. Now, I think Stannis is the one most capable of winning that. And like, you know, the sample chapter where Aenys Frey dies, and you know, I think they're all going to fall in the lake and all that kind of stuff. I think he's going to do a good job at. I think Stannis has a lot hidden up his sleeve for Winterfell, and I don't think it's as easy as the pink letter states.
Read the advocate's question. I don't, because George has confirmed that Stannis is going to burn his daughter, and I think that the whole thematic point of that is he's going to do that, and it's going to do nothing for him.
I think he's confirmed that Stannis' daughter will burn. I do not think he has said the words Stannis will burn. Shireen.
I'm gonna double check you on that. I think.
Yeah, I'll double check myself as well. But I think he just said that Shireen's daughter will burn.
Now, actually, another thing. This is just a bit of a John callback, but just because we were discussing when he's going to be revived, I think it has to happen sooner than later, given the fact that the intended climax of Dance with Dragons included the Battle of the Ice, because he also got really mad at the showrunners for not focusing on Ramsay's dogs, because the Stark children's wolves are supposed to fight Ramsay's dogs. So I think Jon needs to be there for the Battle of Winterfell. I also think Rickon needs to be back. Arya can probably just dial in on StreamYard from Essos or whatever.
Okay, wait. I think you're losing me a little bit.
You're
losing me a little bit. You said that you thought he should have included the Battle of Ice in Dance with Dragons?
He specified that like the 2 climaxes that got cut were Battle of the Ice and Battle of Marine. As such, I feel like, and then based on my speculation of Jon needs to be there because the Stark wolves are going to fight Ramsay's dogs. I think Jon needs to be revived in a reasonable.
So I think you're making an assumption where like I have a separate. I assume there's going to be 2 battles of Winterfell. Like I think the climax that he was building to was just Stannis versus
loses. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, and then there's clearly going to be like another one. I think.
No, you're correct.
It would be unreasonable to expect all that to happen in the next little like immediacy, especially with
that's
with
well.
John
Okay,
being
yeah,
stabbed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I also, now that I'm thinking about how the show did it, both seasons 5 and 6 both end with those battles. So you have plenty of. Not that the logistics will all be the same, but
One,
you know what I mean.
one thing that I think is kind of interesting for Stannis is he's kind of being forced to be patient, which doesn't seem like his strongest suit personality-wise. Like he's very much a we're gonna act now, which is sometimes his benefit, but it is very ironic that if he had just like chilled at the wall and been indecisive, when the Iron Bank dude showed up, it would have been like, oh, I have an army now. But also that Iron Bank dude is employee of the month, like for sure.
Yeah.
His name is
He's
here.
doing good. Tychos
That
Nestoros.
man,
I don't know how to say his
like,
last name, but
his yearly bonus when he gets to the end of the year and he has like his employee review with the Iron Bank of Bravos, it's going to be like, so what have you done that really showed that you excelled at your work? And it's like, bitch, I went through a snowstorm in winter during a war and found Stannis Baratheon. Like, he deserves all the money that they have. Do you want to talk about the Northern conspiracies, Kyle?
with my whole heart. Okay, so there's a lot going on with the North that I think is really cool, and I think it goes into the Brotherhoods Without Banners. Now, all of the potential things that I'm going to mention are not necessarily all going to coalesce into one giant theory. I'm just going to mention like little parts of it and things that can. So whatever's going on with Grey Water Watch. Yeah, I know it was hard to say. Is very interesting to me because we have obviously Howland Reed there, Mage Mormont and Galbar Glover went into the swamps to find him. So he's aware of Jon's will and has two of his most loyal lords there. We lost Hal Molan with Ned's bones. So Catelyn sends Hallis Molan with Ned's bones at the end of Clash, and we never see them again. And this is not an oversight because Lady Dustin says, where did those bones go? I'm looking for his bones. So he would have disappeared along the neck, which is where Grey Water Watch, I keep thinking Grey Wind, is. So he's clearly there. We have the Brotherhood Without Banners who have been disappearing into the neck. And they are also dealing with the whole, like, you know, in Feast we have them hanging phrase. And like obviously trying to infiltrate River Run when we have Davin Lannister going to be marrying a Frey. So we have Red Wedding 2.0. We have Jane Westerling being moved to the west in a convoy with Edmure. And we're told that Jane Westerling is going to be in the Prologue of Winds. So clearly something's happening there. We have obviously Robert Glover and Wyman Manderley, you know, the North remembers. So we have Davos going to get Rickon, which is super cool. We have all the stuff going on in Winterfell. With, you know, who is the ghost in Winterfell? What is the goal there? We have these like
Is that
several
not
lords.
definitely Mance Raider, or am I? We don't
no,
know.
Mance is Abel.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, I see. You think
the mysterious murders going on? Yeah.
No, because I there's no reason for those spearwives to lie to Theon at the end because they admit they killed one of them, and he's like, this one wasn't us.
That's right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, the last sort of details of the book are a little blurry.
Yeah.
To me.
Also,
I was starting to realize
Theon would have known
Song of Ice and Fire.
Mance most likely because he knew Abel, and so when he was talking to the ghost in Winterfell, he would have been like, oh yeah, that's, or the cloaked man. I mean, he would have been like, oh yeah, man. I guess, yeah. So, I find it interesting which characters in Winterfell are working against the Boltons and what might be going on there. And we also just see consistently throughout the book how staunchly the North, beyond like a few people like Arnulf Karstark and stuff, want to keep Ned's memory alive. Like, you know, the people that Big Bucket Wool, who's like, I would rather my men die for the Ned's little girl than die in the snow of old age or whatever. And I'm just like, man, that guy is a killer. So I just think all of these things are going to come together in some way. I know some people draft as like a giant tapestry of like Howland Reed is like directing every. I don't think it's that deep, but I do think all of these lords and the Riverland lords are still somehow trying to keep hope alive for like Jon being the heir, and that's going to happen with when he gets resurrected. Somebody's going to tell him. We have the two people that took the black that are on their way from River Run, like the captain of the guards and the steward that also would know. We have the Blackfish running around. Who knows what he's going to get up to? So just a lot of exciting things in around the neck that I'm just all for. And then, of course, we have Jaime and Brienne, who we don't know what the fuck is going to go on with them. That is a complete wild card.
That cliffhanger is one of the best. I think some of the two best cliffhangers right now, like that's the best cliffhanger in terms of like what is like that's so ominous. No Brienne chapters. Obviously we know what Brienne committed to at the end of Feast for Crows,
Yeah.
given the fact that she's alive. But yeah, I mean, she's leading Jaime into potential danger. Another great cliffhanger we have actually isn't in this book. It's less mystery, but more just so ominous when Littlefinger pitches Sansa on yeah, and then I know she has like a sample chapter in Winds where she's courting Heir of the Air, but I thought that was another very, very good one.
I'll go ahead and say that the two cliffhangers that stand out more than that are the one where it ends with Jon getting stabbed.
Yeah, okay.
And the one where it ends with...
As soon as you started talking, I knew you were going to point out the ones that are actually obviously substantially better.
And also the one where Daenerys is standing in the middle of the field surrounded by Dothraki with a dragon.
You got me there. You got me there. But those probably weren't intended to be the cliffhangers. Those two.
No, I think Daenerys and Jon's chapters were absolutely where he was trying to end those scenes.
That being said,
no, because I think Daenerys is going to bring the Dothraki to the Battle of Meereen. There's just too much work to do there. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean. Jon. Being
I see what you're saying. Like if he had kept the battle, you think she? Yeah, I don't think she's coming in for the Battle of Meereen. That's something we disagree on. I think she's gonna be taken to Vi. Maybe I think she's gonna go to Vi's Dothraki and like so the scene that happens in season 6.
There's a lot of work.
I actually think a version of that scene will happen where she is in Vi's Dothraki and she kind of wins them over somehow.
I mean, one massive difference that is just I don't know how they're going to get around this massive difference is when she's found in the show, she's not found with a dragon, which is very different from being found with a dragon for a lot of extremely obvious reasons. So I don't know how that's going to go. Are the Dothraki going to be like, shit, a dragon, run away? Are they going to be like, shit, a dragon, kill it? Are they going to be like, I don't know. Like, I don't think they're fans.
By the way, this just reminds me of something really funny. Like earlier on and like while the show was coming out, like George would talk about like people they killed that are going to be relevant in the books, and like he would say like there's one Dothraki guy who was killed in season 1, but he's like this guy still has to be dealt with. Yeah, but
Mago. This is George's dumbest take.
Like, yeah, like
how are they going to make the plot work without Mago, Kyle?
I just, people. I'm going to get on my soapbox. People get so dumb about like George's words being gospel. And I'm like, I love this man. Like, he's my favorite author. He's also a pedantic little guy. Like he just like people were like, oh, he didn't like stuff in House of the Dragon season 2. So like, clearly it's all toast. And I'm like, you can have an opinion that's not agreeing with this man who's like, he talked about it in like 12 interviews that they killed Mago in season 1. He's like, he's going to be in Winds, and that's going to have all the butterflies. There's going to be butterflies, guys. And I'm just like, dude, it could be literally fucking anybody. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's so stupid. Yeah, and there are actual substantial changes they made that do matter, and that's not one of them. And he just was so focused. And I'm like, guys, stop this. Like, so anyway, George is great, but he really cares about.
Yeah, I tend to have some problems with House of the Dragon season 2 and their interpretations, but
yeah, I mean that's fair. I just like, when he came out and like had his blog post, people were like, "Oh no, George is upset. That means the whole show." And I'm like, there's one specific thing we can't talk about because it's spoilers, where it's just like, he thinks that there's no way to resolve that.
Spoilers for what?
Ice, Fire, and Blood.
House of
Dragon.
I thought that was all clear. You mean the Misting?
What?
Wait, no, not allowed to say first of all.
No,
yeah, okay.
I'm talking about.
So
I guess we don't need to spoil House of the Dragon season 3 for people who don't read Fire and Blood. That being said, if you really want to, it's fine. It's just unnecessary here.
We can talk about it later. It's fine. Yeah.
So there is. We have not really talked about the point of view chapters of the person with the third most point of views in this book. So do we want to do Tyrion next or Daenerys next?
We're
I
kind of
like
already
both
talking about
Daenerys.
Okay.
Daenerys.
These
So
are two characters that I think actually have amazing character work in these books. Yet
Yeah,
I'm bored
so-
by their plots.
in the Storm thing, Jimmy was like, Dance has my favorite Daenerys chapters. And I was like, interesting. Storm is still my favorite Daenerys chapters. I did definitely enjoy the Daenerys chapters quite a good amount. Now, I will fully admit that part of that reason was the entire time I was developing, me being like, how the hell does David think that Daenerys is like this not eighth most evil point of
Okay,
view
give the
character?
backstory and explain that the list is very fluid, and there are certain
No,
things that I was very strongly opinionated on. Daenerys, I think there were a lot of interesting arguments one way or the
yeah.
other.
So I have Daenerys almost like mirrored. With
Well,
you.
wait, first of all, you got to tell the people what the list is.
Okay, so me, Kyle, and David were on Discord, and we were trying to rank A Song of Ice and Fire point of view characters from most morally good to most morally evil, which is very hard. And the one
very
we had
hard. Very interesting conversation, though.
I had not. This was before I reread Feast and Dance, so I'd forgotten some stuff. And Daenerys was the one that was very, very, very hard to rank because she just makes so many moral decisions. Like it'll be like, oh look, she executed 163 people who are terrible, by the way. But then like, oh look, she freed the slaves. Oh look, her plan is to invade Westeros and start a war. Like, there's a lot going on there. After reading A Dance with Dragon, am happy to report that I am on team Daenerys is a morally good person, relatively speaking to the people in A Song of Ice and Fire, and is clearly in my. We had a joke like Ario Hota was exactly in the middle and then slightly above because he likes Balon Swan. So Ario Hota is exactly morally neutral, except for that one good opinion he had because he does not make moral decisions. Daenerys is firmly in my above Ario Hota half of the list.
Daenerys was in this very difficult range where you have a bunch of people that have a lot of plus minus, like Tyrion, Jaime, some more. Let me see if I can pull it up. I even think we had where did we have Arya? She obviously Arya's another
I
very
can't remember the
complicated one.
specifics of 2 months ago.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
have
trying to
some
find the. I think I have the list in my notes.
Yeah, I have-
sent it to
I will
Jake.
say that I agree with Jake.
Okay.
Oh
Yay.
wait, I found it. Okay, so I actually
Well-
had Daenerys listed as more evil than Jaime and Tyrion. That's
Yeah,
flipped.
ridiculous.
I had her more evil than Ariane Martell, who I like a lot. Base POV, underrated POV. And then more evil than Arya, Catelyn Stark.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm on my I'm more on David's side, but I'm maybe in the middle between the two of you. Like I do think that Daenerys is very morally complicated. Like her intentions matter, but she still does like pretty bad things.
For the record, less evil than Cersei, Victarion,
Yeah, obviously.
Theon, Melisandre, John Cunnington, who's also like maybe a good guy, but has similar sort of. It's actually similar kind of problems to Daenerys, where like
No, John Cunnington's
selfish reasons for certain. Yeah, but he's
I don't
worse.
think I agree with Jerry at all.
Ariat, we have Damphair as more evil, even though
No,
also
I
interesting
totally
with
disagree with
Ariat.
One sec, sorry, Darius. I think
Tenet.
Daenerys is trying
we-
really, really hard to make good moral decisions and
Yes.
protect people. Like she
Um,
truly, like it is part of, like she truly, truly wants to sail to Westeros. Like she really, really, really wants to. And the thing holding her back is that people who she does not know, who are like the former slaves, would likely be brutally murdered. She has to try and make so many compromises. She really, really does not particularly like Hisdar at all, and she volunteers to marry Hisdar just
To
because
stop
it's the good for other
murders.
people. She
Yeah.
does so many things that are personally unpleasant for herself, with the sole goal in her internal mind that she has a duty to the people of Meereen and to try and help the people of Meereen.
I would actually flip what Derry said. I think
Yeah.
she has good intentions, but it's not usually good outcomes. Like I don't think she's done very much good. Like she's freed slaves, but then most of those slaves in other cities have been re-enslaved or killed. And then like Marine is not in a particularly better place with the slaves either.
I do think she's actually done more good in that than we see, because a lot of the time we see the people who want the slaves to be slaves again, being like, look how bad this has been.
Well, we saw a couple people who like didn't like the one guy wanted to be sold back into slavery because
so they're definitely
or
something. But I think there's a really cool scene in this.
I want to finish my thought before people try and say that I'm pro slavery. Like, let me finish my whole thought, which is that when I said that was that it's still in flux. So it's like she hasn't bettered them because they're also under siege in a war. So it's like, I just think that like, sure, right now the average former slave's life might be better than it was a month ago, but like in a month, there's a really good chance they'll be dead. So like, is that really bettering their life that much?
Yeah, I think Derry
okay. So one thing that
exactly
I think, well, this is the opposite of Kenneth, though. This is her having very good intentions and not good results. That's the anti-Kenneth.
Didn't Kenneth literally just do this on like, it was all, if you want to give credit to someone, it's Sword.
Guys, can we not spoil live ships? You guys are so bad at spoiling Realm of the Elderlings for no reason.
Okay. What I was going to say, there's a scene in this book that I think is very telling for like how she has impacted the people of Marine. Which is that when Karth comes to like give her the ships, when Karth comes to like give her the ships and she tells like some of her advisors, one of the advisors who was like a former slave immediately panics and starts being like, it's going to go like back to how it was. And like, oh no, like if you leave, it's going to be like the masters are going to take over again. And like the terror that the thought of Daenerys not being there inspires in him is one of the reasons she stays, despite the fact that like she really, really wants to go. And I think that's a moment where you see from like a perspective that isn't like biased by wanting Daenerys to leave. You see the effect that she's having on the people of Marine, which I think is positive. And I think it's positive because she's both trying to do good things for the people of Marine. And it's really hard because a lot of people in Marine she has to deal with just suck unbelievably. Like, oh my God, they're so frustrating. Like, she is the rare person where I'm like, I give you moral points for not engaging in mass murder. Because, oh my God, if she had just been like, all right, Unsullied, see the people in those temples? They're alive. That's a problem. I would have been like, you know what? I understand. They suck so unbelievably. Even the person who's supposed to be the most reasonable of them hit like, which unless he's the Great Harpy, which whatever. But like Hizdar is supposed to be one of the more reasonable people of them. And even when like he opens the fighting pits,
he's a snake.
And it's like all the stuff about the fighting pits of like, okay, it's only people who are like volunteering to do it. And then he's like, yeah, look, we're going to unleash these lions on these unexpected dwarfs. Like they're all terrible. They all suck. So many, like when she's holding court in the first scene, the former master's like, we enslaved these people and they learned skills while we were enslaving them. And it's unfair that they can now benefit from those skills. Like she had a very reasonable response. If she had been like, okay, person, there's a 400-foot cliff. You're going to jump off now. I would have been like, understandable. Have a nice day.
There's a part where the shave pate is like, here's what you got to do. We kill one of them every day. If they don't stop, we kill two of them every day. And I'm like, is he being that unreasonable? Like,
yes.
I think Derry, we just have fundamentally different views on Dany. I just super don't agree.
I just fundamentally very much disagree.
I will say I don't think I agree either. I think she has selfish intentions in some spaces, but not based on trying to make Marine chill.
Yeah,
and I think
it works against her so much.
The thing is, there are people in Westeros who would see her as a good person. There are people in Volantis who would see her as a hero. She is staying in the place where she is will be most hated by the people she has to regularly disagree with.
She also has a bad impression of how she I think is underestimating how much people would dislike her in Westeros.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's not completely morally pure. I think she is clearly on the good side, morality-wise.
I will say I remember this vividly because I had an argument with my mom about it. I probably mentioned it in one of these streams at some point. when I had read the books before, like the show was on season 1, I was like, oh, I think Daenerys is going to be the villain of this. Like when she comes to Westeros, she's going to be the villain. And like, that's going to be the whole thing, is that we're seeing through the eyes of the villain and how they like slowly make incremental progress to being there, and how they still feel like fully justified in their mind. But from the view of the other people, it's going to be like she's like addicted, like a tyrant.
Yeah, I mean,
and
what I
my
said,
mom was like, that's crazy. And that's what happened in the show. Now the show did it very poorly.
Yeah,
but I think a good author can pull it
She
off.
might-
And so I do still ultimately think Daenerys will end up, you know,
I
doing
think there's a
some
good
version of the
chance
show
she
stuff.
moves
Fire and
more
blood.
evil as she goes, partially because the people of Meereen are so shit that they shall drive her to be worse. I actually had another example that I think is like, I think shows a fundamental difference between her and like a lot of the other people in positions of power. So she has the dragons roaming around, right? And like in chapter 1, one of the dragons like accidentally kills the crime of like one of the people who, the Westeros term I guess would be like small folk, but one of like a farmer. And the amount of lords in Westeros who would have been like, nothing we can do, like that's what dragons do, pay them a weird guild. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I think even some of the people who we'd think of as very good people, if they were a lord in Westeros who had dragons and those dragons killed like someone who was a commoner, I do not think they would have locked up the dragons. And she really, really didn't want to lock up the dragons, but locked up the dragons. No, like that could lead to her death, right? And that could lead to her like
That's like John.
losing her
John
dragons.
sending away everyone around
And
him
like,
that supports him.
she did that because it would cause a rate of collateral damage for commoners who she didn't know. And like all the people who are not commoners around her, like all the other lords, if she'd been like, yeah, you know, like that's what dragons do, we'll obviously like, we'll compensate them again. None of them would have been. I don't see how this is not a relevant point for her morality. She did very good morally thing, not a like all the people around her.
I don't understand Darius' point either.
Yeah, like every single person around her would have been like understandable if she had not locked up the dragons, and if she'd said like that is unacceptable, like that is just the consequence of having live dragons roaming around, and she still would have been seen as a good person, but she didn't do it just because of like the pain it caused. So I'm giving her major points for that.
I mean, what I did admit to Jake that I was coloring my opinion based on what I expect her to do, which is conquer Westeros with fire and blood.
I definitely
but
am
I think
too.
we have some grounds for that in the last chapter.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, yeah. I mean, absolutely, I think she might go that way. But I think like ultimately, like from what we have seen so far, that is what I am.
I will just say Dario Naharis is a stain upon this fucking book. Like, just absolutely cannot wait until this man is killed. And I
he's
feel
not
like
particularly interesting.
He's anti-interesting.
I don't actually mind it. I think it's could be a little indulgent sometimes, but like for the most part, like I think it's how do I want to phrase this? I don't want to say like humanize Dany, but gives her some more dimensions to her scenario right now.
I'm not talking about her sleeping with him. Like, that's annoying, but that's like teenager bullshit. I'm talking about him as a character. Everything he says is intensely irritating.
I'm okay with the fact that he would murder a bunch of the really annoying people in Meereen, and I think Daenerys should.
But he hasn't done it. Lots of talk. Blowhard guy.
Yeah, I mean, Dario Naharis is weird. Like, obviously, there's like the existence of him as like a very dangerous man who like Daenerys is attracted to, who Daenerys like puts aside is thematically like fits into Daenerys's arc. And she has a very like, but he's just not. Yeah, as a character, he just doesn't.
I can't believe that I'm going to disagree with Dari again to defend Dario Naharis by saying why I think it's reasonable that Dany would find him hot, which is that every person that Dany has shown an interest in has been extremely dangerous.
Yeah,
and I just feel like, I just think that is on brand. Like, that doesn't bother me as a weird thing at all. That she would just be into this arrogant.
Could you see her being into Victarion?
No, he's too stupid.
Dario's not exactly.
Dario like isn't dumb. Like he like he doesn't say anything stupid. He's just braggadocious.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would say not because
I can
Victarion's
imagine
just
that.
gonna be like, "You are salt wife.
That's true. Okay.
Go conquer with dragon Dothraki
So,
sea."
David, I know you might have slightly forgotten what happened in this book, but I just need to recount to you what Victarion does in this novel, so you can be like, "Oh, that is the most evil point of view in A Song of Ice and Fire."
Yeah, for context, I have Cersei ranked as number 1.
Yeah,
right
you are
now.
not going to have Cersei ranked below Victarion in about 2 minutes. So,
Yeah.
Victarion runs into a ship that had that was going to a brothel, that had slaves to bring to a brothel.
Mhm.
And kills all the people who are running it. Whatever, pirates gonna do
As
what
he
pirates gonna do.
does.
He then takes all the slaves who are going to that brothel, who were guys, and he says, "Well, that's icky. Drown them all." Throws them into the sea. They are all drowned to death. And then he takes the 7 women who he thinks are the most interesting / hot, because Makoro was kind of like, "You're doing all the stuff for the drowned god," and he wanted to be like, "Well, I'll fuck with the Lord of Light too if you fuck with the Lord of Light." And he burns all of them alive, just kind of to be like, as a gesture, like, "Yep, this is a thing I do. See, I fuck with the Lord of Light as well."
Listen, here's the deal, okay? Victarion, all those things make him. He yes, sure, he can be the number 1. All I will say, and like I think we're in general agreement that innocence does not imply goodness. But if someone did have that alternative stance, it is definitely an argumentative point that his culture is that of the Iron Islands.
Okay,
Which
so for the
explains a
drowning,
lot of these actions.
I might be like, okay, the drowning, it's not a very good point, but like, it's a point. But for the burning alive, there is nothing in his culture that actually goes against his culture. He specifically goes against
He's
his
denying
culture
his culture
to
yeah.
be more evil. He takes
Also,
his ridiculously
he's
evil
bad.
culture,
the
and he's like,
Maester is being
he's
raped
bad.
by the crew for being too effeminate, and he's like, he gives him a knife,
Yeah.
and he's like, either kill them or kill yourself. Like,
Yeah.
he's the
yeah,
worst.
he literally tells the Maester
Okay,
being raped, like,
Victarion
"How about
is
you
very
fight
bad."
back?" Like,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll see if Cersei blows up King's Landing, and then we'll get back.
See,
to
so I
this.
think you've admitted twice now that where you think the show, like you're
No,
biased by
no,
the
but
show.
okay, but that was not a factor.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if we want to talk about like just slaughtering people for no reason.
Okay.
I
I agree. That is worse in the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Victarion also has the funniest chapters in this book, and it's not close.
Oh yeah, they're very funny.
Yeah,
I also want to talk
Tyrion's
about
chapters are less funny than usual.
That's true.
This is calling him not clever is generous to Victarion. That man,
He is a brute. The Advocate mentioned Euron, where this is POV.
Yeah.
Euron
This is
Euron
point of
would
view
be number
characters
1.
only. Euron and Ramsay are both more evil than Victarion.
Joffrey, I would argue, maybe as well.
I would say like
the list could go
if you
long.
give Victarion a huge multiple choice test, I would trust him to find a way to do worse than guessing. Like,
he's just such an entertaining character.
He's not good. He's
that being said, so I want to talk about Makoro.
Okay.
The precision of Makoro's predictions are precise enough that I'm suspicious. Like, now maybe this
I bet he's magic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is just Cope from Melisandre.
Wait, is this the guy with Victarion?
He's with Tyrion for a while, and then they get shipwrecked, and Victarion finds him.
Okay.
And he makes good predictions with Tyrion. He's like, yeah, the ship's going to be in the storm. He calls the existence and problem of Euron, like he describes Euron. And then when he's with Victarion, he just is calling shit that's just always right. And now, Melisandre in her head might be on Copium. So, like, we have to keep that in mind. But Melisandre is like, when I was looking into the flames and seeing things, like, I was always top of my class. And, like, the gap between Melisandre and Makoro, like, these people there's several tiers between them. And I'm like, a lot of his predictions do seem similar to Melisandre's. Some of the stuff he does Victarion seems more glass candly, like I can see what's going on, not here, compared to I can see vague things in the visions. He's sus.
I wonder if he thinks Quentin's dead.
Well, he knows facts, so he does.
He
in fact,
he
think
can
that
see
Quentin's
around,
dead.
so he would know that Quentin is dead.
Okay, so I think so. Multiple things can be true. Like he can just be better at seeing the visions or interpreting the visions in Melisandre. They could have been like not in the same class. They could have just been in different years of the burning people alive school. But I also think a factor is that the dragons are in the east, and the east is more magical. So I think that as magic kind of enters the world more, like there's a lot more stuff going on in the east consistently, even before the dragons, that seems more magical. I think that maybe just people in the east have a better connection to whatever blood magic or whatever
So
R'hllor stuff is going
you're
on there.
opposing, you're proposing like a higher magnitude the closer you are,
Yeah,
like within the
I have
radius.
a point to support this that I forgot to talk about for Daenerys, but I thought was an interesting point that's going to tie into Fire and Blood. So it's a thing in Fire and Blood where very consistently, like early on in Fire and Blood, the Targaryens claim they do not get sick, and then they actually don't get sick. And at some point in the history of Targaryen monarchs, they start getting sick. I think it's around the reign of Jaehaerys. And then, like, you know, a lot of Targaryens between that point and now got sick and died. Like, you know, obviously it happened to like Daeron the Good and like Duncan Head, a lot of things. So I was a little surprised when I'm reading Dance with Dragons and Daenerys is like, me and Viserys don't get sick, and seems to be right. Like Daenerys seems to be right about the fact that she does not get sick. And
she didn't get sick before her dragons either, right?
The way that I've interpreted this, and I don't think we have enough information to say for sure anywhere, is just that they have much resistance to getting sick. Like there's like several plagues in Fire and Blood, and like most Targaryens survive it unscathed when like most of their court dies, but then there's like sometimes like a couple of them die. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking of that. So the way I personally have always interpreted it is just that like statistically they are just much more immune to diseases, but it's not inconquerable.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think there is more. I think it's connected to some of like the amount of magic in the world, and that Targaryens earlier on, like actually when they had like more knowledge of the Valyrian magic as well, and like Valyria was alive, like actually didn't get sick.
Possible. I wouldn't argue
and
against
Daenerys
that.
is coming back. Because yeah, like the Pale Mare is like super plaguey, right? Like super contagious, and Daenerys like does not social distance when going to see them. I'm just gonna say, if she could get the Pale Mare, the Bloody Flex, she's getting it.
I mean, there's also other people around her that haven't gotten it yet, but I do see what you mean. I will also say, like, this would go against the Daenerys thing, but just that as they like interbreed, they're just going to have more and more genetic defects and more problems, even like which we see with like the madness and all the things that happen with them over time. And I think that could also just be a reason why, like, as more Targaryens interbred,
there were a few extra appendages in I think Aegon and Helena's children.
Yeah, you see that there's a trend up in Fire and Blood as well, like the amount.
Yeah, so it could also just even be that too, or it could just be a confluence of all these things. Like I don't think we're gonna get answers on that, but that is an interesting thing to
bring
point
that up
out
for like magic being stronger around like Essos right now, and the dragons. I think
the plague is generally, I think that seems to be. There's a theory about a plague hitting Westeros, which I think could be a detour I'm not really interested in, or maybe they bring it over. I don't know. So
well, I think it's gonna have to do with John Connington for sure.
Oh, with the
that man,
you can't have Chekhov's gray scale without.
That man does not follow COVID procedures.
I just need to, if John Connington's coming up, I do need to just throw out there that Aegon is definitely a Blackfire. Definitely a Blackfire. Definitely a Blackfire, and otherwise, I don't know why George would be doing all this work with the Blackfire rebellions, other than they are interesting and he loves building up.
I agree with you.
Now we're moving on to Tyrion.
Yeah,
we had to get there eventually.
Well, okay, let's actually detour real quick to Barristan because that's like the end, and then we'll get to Tyrion because I don't have that much to say about Barristan except that he's cool as fuck. I really like his chapters. We touched on them earlier. And then the advocate was asking earlier if we think he's going to die in Winds. I'm not saying like he could die in Winds, but a lot of people think he's going to die in this battle, and I think that's dumb. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is really weird to have his like internal character arc of like he needs to die in Westeros. I really feel, or like in a really big moment of saving someone, or like something like he's been a protector his whole life. He's failed to save people a lot. I feel like when Barristan dies, it will be somehow related to saving like the person that he feels like is his true king or queen or something like that. And I do think he needs to reckon with Aegon's existence in some way. Killing him just because he's old. Like people's reasons for this is that it's a big battle that he's leading and he's old. And I'm like, I don't think those are good reasons for him to die. So I think he will survive the Battle of Fire.
The thing I have to
just
say about
because-
Barristan is that his speech in the Winds pre-release chapter just absolutely fucking rules. And I would just like to say
Yeah, exactly what Derry said. It's important for Barristan to have
Yeah.
faced with a choice between Dany and Fagon. I totally agree.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Just because the term Blackfire was brought up, I need to also mention that he brought Dark Sister to the wall, and I like that information.
I like that
But
information too.
completely irrelevant from what we're talking about right now.
I know, but I really want Dark Sister to be found.
He will be.
Yeah.
He.
He.
It will be. Yeah.
Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion. So Tyrion is in a tough spot mentally in this book. He's not very nice to people, I have to say. He's not a very pleasant chap. I think it's really funny that he basically convinced Aegon that it's a good idea to go west and invade, or Fagon to go west and invade Westeros, just because like he thought it was funny, and then like that happened. Crazy. But
I don't think I agree with your interpretation of events. I think he also thought it was a good idea, but he also thought it would be funny.
He had
Like,
some
I think his
valuable
argument-
bars when he was talking to Aegon as well.
Yeah.
Related to Daenerys as well.
I think
and
he thought it
other
had some
such.
merit, but I think he was kind of like, we enjoyed how much chaos it would cause for like the people who he wants to get revenge on.
What I'll definitely
Um,
give you is Tyrion is down bad, which I think is amazing too, because like you feel for Tyrion in Storm of Swords with how horribly he's been treated and like what his like his physical makeup has done to the way he's like treated in the society. But then in this book, you just realize how good he actually had it being highborn.
Mhm.
And I actually think Penny is a really good foil coming in like as someone who is also a little person, but wasn't given the birthright of Tyrion. And first of all, her brother died because of Tyrion, because they're looking, Cersei's looking for other,
Mhm.
and yeah, secondly, I mean, she has just had to spend her whole life being, like the type of actor that Joffrey had at the wedding. So yeah, I really like all the work done with Tyrion here, even though my favorite Tyrion books are still Storm, closely followed by Clash.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Except maybe I would probably put Clash and then Storm from my favorite Tyrion books. But
I think
I
Tyrion is the best character in Clash, but Storm is better Tyrion because I like his arc more. But go
that's
on.
fair. That's reasonable. I was just gonna say, so I really dislike Penny, like as a character to read about. But I agree with everything you said about like she should be in the narrative. I think she's really important. She's doing a lot for Tyrion. Do I secretly hope she has the plague and that will wrap itself up soon? Mayhaps. Does that make me a bad person? Yes. But I just find her so irritating, and I realize she's so naive that she exhausts me. And I know that like that's the point. Like I'm just like, oh my god, can you just not be this naive? But
Yeah,
I
that's
think she's
fair
doing
too.
excellent things for Tyrion. And she's also just like a very tragic character. Like she also makes me very sad. Like I think she's a well done character. I think John Connington and all of these stuff with the boat is really interesting.
I like Sybase. Is that the name of the chess game? I love that.
I wish we had gotten totally rid of that shit. I'm just kind of
It'll
like,
never
man,
be chess. Everyone
just-
tries to come up with their version of chess that's not chess.
But
George
Sorry.
explicitly said he doesn't know the rules.
do you think that in the 6th book, Tyrion will come across the very first Savas board and spend 2 hours playing it and then replay it?
So this is actually
while
a
there's
thing.
like Daenerys.
So I'm a huge chess guy. Love chess. Have it for a long time. I find it specifically annoying in fiction when people being good at chess is like shown that they're generally smart. Like I can tell you there are people being good at chess. All that proves is that you're smart at chess. Like you can be a total dunce who's really good at chess, and you can also be like a brilliant person who's terrible.
That's what we need in a book. Is somebody who's told like he's really good at chess, and so people think he's really good at strategy, and he just consistently makes bad decisions.
This would be consistent with reality. Like I think Magnus Carlsen said this, like the best or one of the best chess players of all time. That like all being good at chess proves is that you're good at chess. Like that does not, and this is true. Like it just is. So I am annoyed by the chess insert being like a metaphor for like how good people are at the Game of Thrones. Doran Martell was right. He's like, I don't play Savas. Who cares? I'm planning to play the Game of Thrones. They're different. They're not related. Speaking of Doran Martell, the contrast in the support structure between Fagon and Quentin Martell is pretty staggering. Both of these people are being sent by someone kind of schemy to go to Daenerys. And Illyrio Martell is like, have the entire Golden Company. And Doran Martell is like, have like 7 knights. Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, I mean, their goals were very different. I don't think that's a meaningful comparison.
Anyway, I also want to say all that you learn from how people play chess is their style of play at chess. Like listen, you don't.
I just said I disagreed with you, and you're like, yeah, okay. Anyway, so
it's fine. I don't feel strongly about it. I need to say I've played a lot of people at chess. You can play people who are general, like you do not, who are like very like risk takey, and then they don't play chess that way. And you can play people who are very calm. And well, Kev, David's in my Discord and you're not, so it's tough.
I think generally whenever people try to make this idea of like of like being, oh well, you know, you could really see how a person would respond by how they respond, and I'm like, just people are way more complex than that.
Maybe the tiniest, but no, it's yeah. Yeah, but he is also like, I have a read on Brown Ben Plum because of like how carefully he plays Savas and like how he doesn't go for the attack and like, let's see sure he's win. And it's like, sure, bro, sure. Like,
I also think a lot of the Savas is like, there's sort of some metaphor as to like what's happening in the game because like the figures are like characterized.
Which I find exhausting.
Anyway, we're moving on from Savas. I don't care about Savas. Except the part although you're actually David just likes Savas because of the part in the Winds pre-release chapter where Tyrion picks up the white dragon piece and he's gonna be like, Tyrion Targaryen, whatever.
I didn't even know he did that. That's amazing. Because I think I told you this. I think I told you this. I know what happens in the Winds pre-release chapters. But I've actually only read the Sansa one just because it was like on his site and I was bored one day. But well, no, because the thing is, George has specifically said he's going to rewrite some of them. I don't want what I've read to convolute, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to think back on things that aren't actually going to be in the book. I'm thinking ahead here to when I've completed Winds of Winter and want to get things straight, right? So
yeah, this is just not a concern for me, but I understand the impulse I got.
All right, I have an interesting thing for on the boat. That was a note. It's interesting that Tyrion guesses that Griff is Aegon specifically. Like he doesn't just be like, Aegon is a secret Targaryen. He's like, that guy, young Griff, is Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Elia Martell. And I'm like, that's just interesting that he didn't be like some other secret Targaryen, considering it seems like there's a fucking dime a dozen of those if you trust the theorists.
Ben's comment is absolutely unhinged.
Oh my God.
Why would you say this?
All right, Ben.
Who do we think Septa Lemore is?
I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
I don't have like there's lots of theories that have been put forth where I feel like the answer is too convoluted, which like gets into the the fandom having too much time on their hands. Like they're like, here's the 17-point paragraph reason why this is secretly a person who was the only like female rebel in the Kingswood Rebellion 20 years ago. And I'm like, this is just not an important character. Like nobody would be hiding. Like George would not
I'm
hide this
so
character.
glad you like agree with me on all this. Like my take on like all these BS random like very niche fan theories is the exact same as yours. But because you were so knowledgeable on the series, I almost expected you to be in some of these rabbit holes that you're not, and I love it.
No, I super like. There's almost not like the thing is that
Wait, did I call you Kev? I meant Kyle.
I don't know. The thing is that like some of them will inevitably be true because too many people have been theorizing for too long, and like that happened in the Stormlight series too, where people were just like right about some stuff. So like I'm not saying some of these theories will not be right. I don't think like Jojen Pace could easily be right. I just think people get crazy with a lot of these, and I'm just like,
I don't
dude,
like Jojen
what is
Pace.
what is the point here beyond just like trying to prove to the people you're telling the theory to that you're clever? Like George would not put Septa Lemore in book 5 and make a mystery about her so that she could be like, well, you see, I was in the Kingswood Rebellion, and it's like, who cares? But she could have a secret identity. Like I think there's things that don't add up with her.
I think there are a lot of good characters on like on the boat with Tyrion. I actually like the like when the people who worship the giant turtle are there. Like I kind of like that. Like that was some like random unnecessary world building, but I still enjoyed it.
I like worshiping turtles. I like Yandri and Ysilla quite a bit. I think they're like nice little like minor characters that I kind of hope never come back, which I never say about anybody in the series because I always want people to come back. But it would be nice if they just sailed off on their little boat and we never saw them again. So okay, I would push back on Derry being an alternative and it needs to be plot relevant. Lenore, nope. I would disagree with this only because George did spend time in the book having Tyrion question who she is. So I do think there will be a reveal there. The reveal might be that she's just Lenore, but she has a scandalous past at some point. But he would not have him question who she would be if it would never be relevant in any way.
I'm kind of just like Lenore, whatever.
And that's more work done for
I mean,
relative
we've had a couple
the sand snake that's in Old Town, for example.
Yeah, because I mean, we have had some like identity reveal, like Artiston Whitebeard was Barristan.
Yeah.
And then there's some where it's like we know about it and other people don't. Like we obviously know like Jane is fake Arya. And like
Ben, the biggest theory is that she's a Shara Dane. Like that would be like there's a lot of theories about who she is. Like there's like any female character that we haven't seen on page in the last 2 books, there's a theory that that's secretly Lenore. But I think the biggest theory is that she's secretly a Shara Dane. Like that's probably the number 1 theory.
Lenore is time traveling Howland Reed.
Absolutely. That's my new take.
There we go.
Yeah, like I could see her being the mother of one of the Sand Snakes. I could see that for sure.
That'd be cool. Okay. So there's a what was there? Oh yeah. I had a question of what would Stannis's reaction to, well, what if he's still alive? What would Stannis's reaction to Daenerys be? Because his whole thing is he's like, the Iron Throne is mine by right, and he's kind of like, I did not ask to be king, but it's like I am, and like I have a duty to go through my claim because like the Iron Throne is mine.
The Targaryen line was broken with the rebellion. So he would be like, she is no longer part of the line of succession.
Okay, then you could just be like, the Baratheon line was broken when you lost at the Blackwater.
But Joffrey is still legally a Baratheon. Like we know he's not, but that is they are claiming that Joffrey and Tommen are Baratheons. So the Baratheon line has not been broken. There
is like, isn't the kind of weird thing where one of the way the Baratheons being legitimized is that like they are the noble houses most recently married into the Targaryens. So it's like kind of if all the Targaryens are dead.
So like Aegon, Dunk's daughter marries
Aegon's brother. Baratheon.
Yeah. So it's like that, like Daenerys being just removes that case, right?
No, that's way further back, David. I'm talking about Egg.
You mean that Aegon they married in, within the past century? Yeah.
Aegon V's daughter marries a Baratheon. So
right.
It's like Dany's grandma.
There's also the interesting thing of like, I mean, Melisandre would probably somehow be oblivious to it, but a lot of the other Red priests are pretty on the Daenerys as Azor Ahai train, and it would be interesting Stannis' reaction if Melisandre was like, "Oh wait, lady with dragons. Stannis, I might have screwed up. You might not be Azor Ahai. Lightbringer's bullshit. Aemon Targaryen was right. It'd be interesting, like, if his reaction to that, because now he was like, you know, I'm the king by right. Like, I have the best claim by all laws of Westeros. Like, there's no argument against it for Joffrey or Tommen, which is true. This lady who seemingly can predict the future gave me a seemingly magic sword and is saying I'm Azor Ahai. And like when he's talking to Davos, when he's going to kill Edric Storm, he's like, you know, she talks about like a night that never ends. And a lot of his justification goes if it's a conflict with Daenerys. So it does interesting where it's like, if Daenerys shows up and Mel realizes she's wrong while Stannis is alive, is Stannis in too deep? Could he ever go back from being like,
I mean, just
am
knowing Stannis's personality, I
think that would break him.
I
I think Stannis will die before this happens, but I think Stannis is going to live a lot longer than maybe David thinks. But I will think it would actually be really interesting if, like, okay, so here's an interesting plot. Melisandre and Selyse and Axel burn Shireen at the wall. Stannis doesn't know about it. He finds out later. He's obviously mad, but, you know, like, I don't know exactly what the fallout would be with that. I think it would be hard to predict his actions. Like, I don't think he would agree with it, but I mean, maybe he'd be too far in or desperate or something. And then afterwards, like, let's say directly after Dany gets there, and then Melisandre realizes she was wrong and Stannis is not Azor Ahai, and then Melisandre abandons anyway. That would be incredibly, incredibly interesting and very depressing. And then, like, Stannis is like killed from something or whatever, like just breaks Stannis. I don't think that will happen, but that would be really interesting.
Anyway, yeah, I don't think it'll happen either. But I thought it was like a random hypothetical of like how Stannis would confront with being neither the objective heir nor Azor Ahai, when he's kind of had like both those things in his head for a while.
And he is so justice coded. By the way, I did just try to find George confirming that Stannis himself will burn his daughter, and I couldn't find it, so we're still staying tuned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be hard to look well while we're on stream. Like, I'm going to look after, and if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. But
yeah,
I
think I was thinking I don't want to go.
I think he said that, like, he used weird language, and I think I actually remember where he said it was in that oral history, like, for Only Fire Can Kill a Dragon about the TV show. I think he confirmed it in there, but like used sly wording. But
okay, gotcha.
This is also, by the way, the chapter where Tyrion says like one of the slimy things where he's like, he doesn't just want to kill Cersei. He tells the person he wants to like kill and rape Cersei. I'm like, Tyrion, man, that's so much worse.
He's off for rocket.
Yeah.
Do we think he will encounter Tysha later in the books?
I don't think he should. I don't know if I have an opinion on if he will. I think it would make the world feel too small, but I think it's the kind of thing that George would want to do.
I totally agree with the back two. I personally, though, would like to see her. I just think it'd be interesting.
I think there's a strong argument that we have seen her, and I think that's fine. Like, there's a good argument she's the sailor's wife. No, I think she's the sailor's wife. I think there's good evidence for her being that. I shouldn't say I think she is. I think if it was revealed or strongly hinted later on, that
it's like if she's been on screen, that's the character who she probably is.
And I would be totally okay with that just being like a nod, and like we never like maybe she appears in book 6 again with a character that's not Tyrion, and she's like, oh, like I've had encounters with dwarfs before or something, like, and then something weird like that, and then we're like, oh,
I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if I.
100.
Oh,
yeah,
I
don't think she'd be Lenore. You'd recognize her.
Okay, I know this is going off Tyrion, and we took too long to get to Tyrion, but I had a random question that I wanted to ask Kyle and know if there are any like theories about this. And this is in the Arya chapter when she's blind, and she mentions like very few people who go to the House of Black and White, like go in front of the statue of the stranger, and one person who went there to die was specifically described as going to the stranger as young, from Westeros, curly-haired, handsome, and had 4 gold dragons. And
I have not seen theories about this. I'm sure there is, but I wonder about it every single time I read. I'm like, I wonder. But I've never seen, to my knowledge, some theories.
It just feels like George had an opportunity to hide something.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of the times when he has an opportunity to hide something, he hides something. And 4 gold dragons is like quite a few dragons. So this person is probably a noble.
Yeah, no, I think it's something that could come back up again for sure. There probably are theories. Like there's theories about everything. I just don't remember ever coming across them. If I have, I've forgotten. With Arya though, I think tying into the Stannis arc once again, the Justin Massey, Gene Poole, Alison Mormont, Paichos Nestori, little crew there we have going on with, I think that's gonna be really interesting. That going to Bravos and seeing them hopefully run into Arya with fake Arya. I'm pretty invested in that happening. I feel like George will do the near miss thing that he loves to do, but I would really hope there's actually a confrontation of some sort.
On the other hand, I've been wanting Arya to run into people for like 4
5
books now,
yeah,
and she keeps not running into people. But
she ran into Darian, okay, and Sam.
Sam didn't know it was Arya though.
I know.
Do you think Tyrion being sold for the freak show publicly would be the thing Tywin would be most angry about if he could see what happened from the afterlife? Discuss. Like, how much is Tywin just super pissed about watching everyone laugh at Tyrion being a freak show?
He's probably...
I think he would be way more upset with what's happening in King's Landing, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Tyrion's already a big disappointment. I think Cersei doing the Walk of Shame would be something that would make him pretty furious.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, Tyrion's no son of his. He is done with Tyrion, and I'm sure would just be loving it.
I don't think he'd be loving it.
That's what he deserves.
I think he'd be like, "See, I was right," but I think he'd also be like, "They do this to like someone from House Lannister. Like they all need off with all their heads. They all need to be killed."
We should move on to Cersei though, because I do need to get going soon. And Cersei
that's in this book.
The Walk is incredibly good, incredibly good, and all the Cersei stuff in this book is phenomenal, and we don't have enough of it. Discuss what you guys think.
Yeah, well, I actually like the theory about her. I guess like she infected her foot, and she might lose the foot that Jaime's hand was grabbing onto.
I might have been the one that told you about that theory, because I really think that's a great theory, and I brought it up, and like nobody had heard of it. So I'm not saying I popularized it at all, but I might have popularized it to you. I agree with that theory. I think it's good.
Maybe I'm not sure, but cool, good stuff. Yeah, there was actually something was brought to my attention recently that I didn't have this initial thought when reading the book, but like people have said that it's weird that like she's getting like stripped down and like her hair chopped off and like is thinking about like sexual interactions with Jaime. Do you guys find that weird or fitting?
I would have to reread the exact passages to decide. Like the fact that I don't know what you means I probably found it like reasonable in her mentality, but I would have to reread it.
Yeah, also me. It didn't catch me off guard the first time. But yeah, I mean, Walk of Shame's great, and it's just again like in this book we see so many characters just at their absolute worst, and like this is the worst thing imaginable for Cersei. So it's awesome. Any thoughts on her in the epilogue? She seems pretty tame. Humbled maybe is the wrong word, but not just, out for vengeance instantly. She kind of needs some time to recuperate.
Yeah, I think she's plotting.
I mean, I have thoughts about Kevin in the epilogue, which I think it is interesting to see, like, Kevin, we see his relative competence compared to Cersei in his recommendations in Feast for Crows.
I love that epilogue. I've always liked Kevin Lannister.
Yeah. But also we get to see, like, his not brilliance, where he's, like, talking about how he's regretting his choice to put some of, like, Tyrell people on the small council, and like how he actually like hadn't considered the politics element as much, and he was more just like, let's just put people who are competent in charge. And he also thinks to himself that he needs to put good knights on the Kingsguard, and his example is Lancel. He's like, we got to get a good knight on the Kingsguard. Lancel Lannister's a knight, and I'm like, brother, that's Cersei could never. Like, that man, like, I don't know if he's would be less competent than Mr. Blunt.
He just wants his son to be like.
No, this is his example. As he's like, we need good knights on the Kingsguard, And he's like, Lance.
But that's his son. Like,
Yeah.
of course he's going to think his son is a good knight.
Yeah, but I know. I just think it was interesting to see, like, because in Feast, his advice all is very good, especially when compared to how much of a disaster Cersei's is. And I thought it was just interesting to see that, like, he also has his blind spots that, like, when he's in charge, that we don't really see from Cersei's perspective, because it's just like he sees things so much more clearly.
Cersei is just so relatively like a horrible politician that
Kevin Lannister looks is like, you know, lots of people have been Hand of the King and probably have had like sons who are very average fighters who are knights, and most of them did not go like.
Yeah, I mean, how did we get Boros Blount and Maren Trant?
Well, yeah, no, the
Kingsguard.
The Kingsguard has a lot of nepotism, a lot.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that, like, I just found it like as an interesting note of Kevin's like, this is how I'm gonna start to solve the Kingsguard. Should we try and get Garland Tyrell? Nah, lame.
You could never get Garland. He's an heir.
Yeah, he's also way too cool.
Yeah, I think like I don't think Lancel is a good Kingsguard, but I don't think it's unreasonable of him to have that thought. Like, I don't think it's that indicative of craziness. Like, every single thought Cersei has in the entire 2 books is crazier than that thought.
Yeah, and I think the point is just like we don't have the contrast of Cersei anymore. So it's like in Feast, it's like Kevin is like, this is the competent choice, because and like he is relatively so much more competent than Cersei. But now that like Cersei's Cersei's off the table,
he's good but not great. Like, you'd give him like a C+ to B- in stats for stuff.
Yeah, he's just like fine. Like, you know, he's not going to be a total fuck up.
But you know what? He knows that about himself because he's always just followed Tywin's lead.
Yeah.
I wonder how Sir Robert Strong would actually behave in combat.
We're gonna find out. Clegane Bowl, get hyped.
No Clegane Bowl.
I actually think the like Marjorie's fight it's gonna be like a fight of the 7, and like probably Robert Strong is gonna defend her, and then it's gonna be like Lance.
Wait, you think Robert Strong's gonna defend Marjorie? That'd be hilarious.
Well, she's the queen.
I'd love to see a trial.
It hadn't even occurred to me, because like when Cersei assigns Robert Strong, it's like Robert Strong can defend her, and I was like, I'd completely forgotten that, like, oh, Robert Strong will now also defend Marjorie.
I mean, that it could be a different Kingsguard knight, but like we only have Boros, let's be real. We have Maren. Let's get real. Lancel is dying on Dragonstone, which we don't know how that is. Balon.
He said whatever.
Oh, sorry, Loras. Balon is down in the south. Jamie's wandering the Riverlands. And you really only have Robert Strong. So I feel like if she does have a trial by the trial by combat, it would be Robert Strong defending her.
Well, good thing Robert Strong has demonstrated that he will, to death's end, uphold the vows of the Kingsguard, even if they go against Cersei.
So I have a question. So I say this as someone who is also on Team Fagon, and I actually think that being on Team Fagon is really funny when you get to the part where Jon Con tells the Golden Company that like he's actually Aegon Targaryen, and the Golden Company are all like, this guy doesn't know he's a Blackfire, and they're like trying to they're like surprised because they're like, holy shit, Jon Con actually thinks this is Aegon, and not holy shit. Like,
I'll have to reread that because I kind of put the pieces together after I finished the book.
Yeah, so this was the first time reading it that I've read it like being like, oh yeah, he's probably Fagon. That seems really funny. Do we think that Varys is referring to him as Aegon just to fuck with Kevin? Is it because his name is Aegon Blackfire?
Well, that's what's interesting. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, he could be named Aegon Blackfire. Like, maybe that could be his name.
Maybe
I feel like, okay, so
into existence, but
let's back up one step. Do we think that Aegon knows that he's a Blackfire?
No. That is why I decided this book. I think he is a Blackfire, and both Jon Con and Aegon think that Aegon is Aegon.
Yeah, okay. So I agree with
you. But Varys has to know that he's a Blackfire.
Yeah, but Varys and Illyrio and the Golden Company.
It would not be reasonable
in the baby switch.
It would not be reasonable for him to have another name. Like, I'm sure when he was born, they obviously didn't know that this was going to be a plot they could enact. So he might have been named like, you know, Kevin Blackfire or whatever. But then, like, as soon as they did the swap, he would have been Aegon, and he would have just been Aegon his whole life. So, like, functionally, he is Aegon Blackfire, and I just don't see I don't think he's going to do the thing where he's
you mean if there wasn't a swap, like it was like Rhaegar's son Aegon was killed, there was no swap.
Yeah.
I'm saying that this baby was born. The
As a
baby
black-
that is
as a
Aegon
black
was
fire.
born in the world.
As a Blackfire,
And we don't-
once they decided that he was going to be Aegon Targaryen, he was renamed to Aegon.
Most likely. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know the
Yeah,
exact
yeah, right.
timeline, but that
Yeah.
just seems like the most reasonable option. The other option is like whoever the mom is, probably Sarah, was pregnant with a baby, and then the potential for a swap happened, and then Illyrio was like, "Hey, we could do something. We could do the funniest thing ever, guys," and then named him Aegon. Like, I don't think it's relevant. Like, he'll be Aegon regardless.
Yeah, sure.
And I agree with Derry. Loras is not dying on Dragonstone.
I'll tell you this. I don't think he's the third head. I don't think we're ever going to see him ride a dragon.
Oh,
This
I
is
definitely
not
don't
just
think so.
I don't
This
think
is
so
not just
either.
because I'm a Tyrion Targaryen stan. It's also because I feel like I think that this whole Aegon thing was a gardening by George. And I feel like the dragon has 3 heads was way, planned much earlier on in the process.
Okay, so we have to so the hints that Aegon would be alive are in Game of Thrones. Like, people were theorizing on that beyond, like, even before the second book came out.
Okay,
and I
wait, are
think
you
that's
referring
reasonable.
to specifically the Illyrio and Varys conversation that
No,
Arya
no.
overhears? Oh, okay.
I'm talking about like the fact that Aegon is a baby and they kill him, and then like people were like, it feels like Aegon might be alive. I don't know what specific details otherwise that they went off, but I do know
But
that I've
in
seen
a Game of
things that people were
Thrones.
like in the Game of
Okay.
Thrones. They're like, oh, I bet this is going to be a thing. And then in the Hedge Knight, there is no mention of Blackfires, which is really weird because it's right after the Blackfire Rebellion. Like, Sir Arlen died in a battle against the Blackfires, so you would feel like that the Blackfires would have to come up, except they don't, which means that George had not invented them yet, and then they come in to play later. So I do think you're right in that there was a gardening of stuff in terms of like whether or not he's a Blackfire, which I think we all agree that we think he's a Blackfire, but he put that seed in there for Aegon to be alive, and we don't know. So he could have decided initially that the third head of the dragon was Aegon, the real Aegon, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to put this here, and in book 3, I'm going to reveal that Aegon's alive, and he'll be the third head of the dragon." And then along the way, he could have decided that he's actually a Blackfire, and that would still functionally be. I'm not saying that's what I agree, that what I think. I'm just saying that we don't have the information to know what he changed and what he didn't.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Genghis Khan, I just want to throw out there that this is why this is the best series ever.
And then he throws in the random.
No disrespect to the Ken Liu book that I haven't read, but
Nobody thinks it's on the same level.
yeah,
Um,
these
Oh,
books
I
are
see.
amazing.
He mentioned Ben. Shut up! Like, get out of here with that bullshit.
I'd also like to note that Tyrion is going to design a saddle for the dragons. Moving on. I would like
is
to
a
state,
saddle maker.
I would like to make sure I get this part of my notes because I think it's a very important opinion that should be universally agreed upon. A griffin is a terrible battle cry. Like, it's pathetic. It's bad.
That's true.
It's terrible.
But you know what?
It's so
you know
terrible.
what's cool? You know what's cool? Just griffins, period. And I
Yeah,
love
but
that.
if
that is-
I was
that
in
makes me,
that
like 10
army-
times more interested in House Coningson.
If I was in that army and it was like, okay, what do we shout when we're charging? And it was like, we shout a griffin. I'm deserting. I'm out. Like, this side, this is not winning. This is not the winning team. Okay? This is not, yeah. I needed I just wanted to make sure that I said that. I'd also like to say that Tyrion promised 100,000 gold dragons to Brown, Red, and Plum. The crown is 7 million dragons in debt. So he just promised the equivalent of 1.4% of the crown's debt, which took like 2 decades to accumulate. And I would just like that to be noted.
You spend your time with useless shit.
I'd just like to note how rich, if this works,
Literally,
Brown, Red, and
nobody
Plum is gonna be.
cares about the 1%. Okay,
That's a wild amount of money. And
it is. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Tyrion's counting on most of them dying.
That is true. Yeah. And honestly, Brown and Plum probably should have asked for less strategically because he asked for so much that now there's like such an incentive to get him killed. If he'd asked for an amount that was still a completely insanely crazy large amount, but that Tyrion would just like not care about, his chance of living would be much better.
Did I say winter hell?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know what I just said.
I can't hear. Hearing's hard.
I don't talk well. My brain goes faster than my mouth.
I have a couple
It's
random
like
other
show
notes
hot
that I'm
pie.
like, these are things that need to be said. Barristan had the plan for like the coup, and for every stage of the plan, he avoided bloodshed and avoided combat, except for his duel with Kratz. Was this A, because he could not come up with a way to make that bloodless, or B, because he wanted to defeat Kratz in a badass duel to make himself feel cool about himself? I think it's B.
Still got it. I don't know. But by the way, I just want to throw out there, like, regardless of what I said earlier about like Barristan maybe being bloat, I still love him as a person.
Barristan feels the same way about you too, David. He
Glad to
told me
hear it.
himself in his inner monologue that we wouldn't have if he wasn't.
Which
POV.
Barristan? Because wasn't there also a Barristan in one of George's earlier works? I'd be interested to read about him.
Not that I know of. That doesn't mean that I mean, maybe in like a short story I haven't read.
Well, I'm guessing you meant Barristan
Okay.
Gold.
Oh, this was actually something I want to talk about. We're going back to Daenerys. So Hizdar, whether he's like the harpy or just kind of like a derpy guy who's just like not great at things.
I think he's derpy.
I think it's kind of lame if he's the harpy. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't think
it's
he's the
kind of
harpy.
I think it's lame if he's the harpy because it makes Barristan right and Daenerys wrong about doing peace versus doing war. Like Daenerys is there and does the marriage and peace and like kind of achieves a degree of peace. And then Daenerys leaves and Barristan is like, we're doing a coup and we're going to war because he's probably the harpy. And I just think it's lame if the conclusion is like, yep, peace was dumb. You should have done slaughter.
That's such a better point. My point is simply that all of these people are very sure that he's the harpy, which just means narratively he's not the harpy.
Yeah, that too.
But I agree with your reason too.
Now, David, this is your chance to be like, I actually believe he's the harpy.
Derry,
Oh no, I was.
Arya has
nodding
two
in
chapters in this
nothing to
book. What
add.
else do you want us to talk
Okay,
about? We've been
in
going
fairness,
3
they
hours.
are very good.
They
And
are
we
very
didn't
good.
talk about Arya for the feast ones at all.
That's true.
So, the Arya chapters are really good. Which two are the ones in here? It's Blind, and is there another one?
Well, yeah,
Well,
she's
yeah, because Feast ends with her becoming blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the one where she does the assassination of the dude, where with the plan with poisoning the coin, where with like the reverse pickpocket.
Yeah.
Gotta admit, pretty cool plan.
Good plan.
Something I like about Arya in these later books is like it's very interesting how we're so in her head in the earlier books, and then we're I think at some of the furthest distance from a character's head that
Yeah,
George
it's
gives
like
us
as
in
she
in these
learns
chapters,
to hide,
as she
her-
becomes
yeah.
no one. Yeah, but
It's like
yeah,
as she learns to hide her true deep inner monologue from the faceless men, she hides it so well that she also hides it from us. And I just
yeah,
think
like
that's
in
cool.
I think it's Feast for Crows when she kills the annoying Night's Watch guy.
Yeah,
His
Darion.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to piece that together as the reader, which you never would have had to do in like a Clash Arya chapter or something.
Well, you don't really have to piece it together because at the end she tells them that she killed Darion, but like it kind of skips over it.
Yeah.
She
okay,
doesn't think
that's
about how
what it is.
she's planning on killing him.
Right. Yes, correct.
Also, by the way, read the Winds pre-release Arya chapter. I know you're not going to read it, but it's really good.
Please just
I
succumb.
won't read it, and I know what happens in all the chapters, and I'm like, that's dope. But I don't want words being attributed to my memory as the Song of Ice and Fire stuff I've read that
I know,
isn't
it's-
canon.
But you know what?
You know what you
Whatever.
should do? You know what, David?
What?
There's this guy who he is the next George R. R. Martin. Some people say. He's doing a like Winds of Winter fan project where he gets a lot of people to.
All right, we're
make
muting Kyle.
Make a Winds of Winter.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're muted. We can't hear you anymore.
I need to know who he's talking about.
He's talking about Preston Jacobs fan fiction.
Yeah, I'm. Don't
okay.
read it. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not gonna read that either. Yeah, Bengus, I know they're pre-release chapters, but like he specifically said that it's not that it's just because George has said that he's going to edit them. Like,
well, it's been like 10 years. Like, yeah, I don't think he intentionally wants to edit them, but I just think they have changed over time for sure.
Well, yeah, he's explicitly said that some of them have been edited. He hasn't.
Yeah, I
specified
mean,
Yeah,
which.
I'm
so
sure when it comes out, they'll be slightly. Man,
Isn't
I
it-
read the
okay,
Sansa
but-
chapter. I might have. You know what? I might have to read the Damp Hair one because
Okay,
that one.
David, let me
everyone-
just play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
What is a bigger net positive versus like loss? Like if you're thinking positive, negative column, you get to talk with me and Jake and everybody else you know about A Song of Ice and Fire, but all the information in there, you can be on the same level playing field as all of us. You'll have the same equal opportunity access information to debate theories and things and George's intentions for an unknown number of years. Versus when you read the book and a couple lines change, you're like, oh, geez, she didn't kill Raph the Sweetling, she killed somebody else instead. Interesting. And then you just move on. Like that's not going to confuse you.
You
You're
know,
just going to be
I'll
like,
give
oh,
you
it's
this.
different.
I'll give you this. I really don't engage in any Euron discourse because I think I'm missing a big piece of it, and
Conversation
obviously
is dope.
Euron could be a very big player. So,
I don't know.
yeah,
The previous chapters, I hadn't read them in a long time. They're really fucking good, man.
Yeah, they're really
I've
good.
read the Sansa one.
The
and
only
thought
one
it
I
was
don't
good.
love is like the Arion chapters. I don't particularly. I think the first one, but then the second one I really like.
The Forsaken is the one that I've heard is very good, and I roughly know what's
Mercy's
going
really
on
good.
there.
The Arya
Mercy's
chapter.
really good.
Yeah,
Elaine
okay.
is
So
really
I know
good.
what happens in the Arya one. Did George do a reading of that? I might have listened to some of it.
All right.
The Arya one, no, it was just on her. He actually posted it like the week before a similar in the show she like kills Maren Trant, right?
Yeah. I knew that.
He posted that chapter like the week before that episode aired or something like that. It's basically a fuck you. I did this first.
Based.
I'd like to say it was once said about me that I am a long-winded fellow.
My wife said that.
Yes. that is when
who is definitely asleep right now, and who I promised I would be up before she went to sleep. So I'm a liar.
By the way,
I like
wait,
the
can
part.
you guys hear me right now? Because my
can.
AirPods just died. You can? Okay, fine, cool.
Okay, so he can't hear us, so let's talk.
No. I can't hear you in here.
Oh, okay. Then let's
But
not
not
talk
here.
about the theories that how Jamie's the best.
The theories, not grounded in evidence.
Theory: Jamie is the best. Confirmed.
Have you guys noticed though that I've never actually like disagreed with a single point someone's made about Jamie?
He's true. Yes.
Like I literally agree with all of it, and I think
you're simply just muted. You're like a guy who's had.
You're just weighing things wrong.
You've taken some sort of like Jamie is mid drug, and it just dulls your senses to him, just like 10%, and that's just like a criminal.
I just
10%.
think, like, to be honest, I connect to the other characters more, and that makes them more personal to me. Other than Cersei, who I just think is objectively a better character than Jamie because she's an amazing character.
Objectively, you're wrong because
objectively,
lots of other people think that's not true, so it can't be objective.
Oh, of course.
Oh, that's not.
I mean, that's a bad argument. As I said, if that wasn't true, but I mean,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
it is very, very, very difficult to make an argument that without resorting to an appeal to human preferences that Cersei Lannister is a better written character than Jamie Lannister.
Yes, thank you for saving me from the one person who would actually that in the comments at some point, because as soon as I said it, I was like, that's actually not true.
Okay, I think unlike Feast, we actually talked about, well, we didn't talk about Areo Hodo, but whatever.
We did talk about Asha. John Cunnington, we talked about. Melisandre, we didn't talk about.
Yes, we did a little bit. Like
a little
bit. That's Jane, or that's John's stuff.
I think we talked about how she was coping when she thinks she's the best at seeing visions.
We haven't talked about Jamie's chapter really, but there's not much to go off except that it's dope, and I hate that it's just
Yeah, it's really good. I would like to see a Jamie John negotiation because I think both those negotiations are very reasonable. I like he comes out with like. What do you say?
Oh, sorry, you're talking about with the Blackwoods. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah. You said negotiation. Everyone just always talks about him talking to.
I think he's just like there with the Blackwoods. Good hand of the king and Jamie. He's got to be hand of the king, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I also thought that like the difference between Jonas Bracken and Titus Blackwood was just really funny. Like, it was like a very comedic difference, but like Jamie dealing with it was just fun.
Let's see. I'm sure I had something here. I'm scrolling through my notes. You know what? We actually managed to not skip entire plot lines.
You know, actually has a wait. You know, it was a cool chapter. Arya Hota.
He does. It actually is a good chapter, in fairness.
Because Balon Swan's in
yeah.
it.
Because Doran Martell's in it, and
So he actually has like, yeah, it's a really
It's a
dope
good chapter.
That is the chapter where I decided that people can't agree on how competent Doran Martell is, right? Like, the opinions range from he's just way too indecisive and is going to accomplish nothing, and the Martells are going to get wiped out because he's like wrong, to he's actually behind everything and he's the main character and blah 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 blah. And this was the chapter where I was like, I think it's lame if Doran is not competent. Just because I think similar reason with the Barristan Dany, where I think it's very lame if the Sand Snakes are right and war, revenge, blood is the correct way of going. And Doran's attitude of, hey, see how the common people's lives are like equally valuable to ours? That's important. Only go to like, if you're going to try and get revenge and it's going to destroy the lives of the common people, like that's a betrayal of your duty as a lord. Like that person should be right.
Yeah. Like that also goes to like George being very anti-war, which like I think people really forget about in his motivations and like writing stuff. Like we see that all throughout Feast and in Dance, but especially in Feast. And like
and a lot in the Riverlands in the earlier books too.
Yeah, and then Ilaria Sand talking to the Sand Snakes about being like, no, like revenge for him is not good. Like who's gonna like if you guys go out and then you get killed, then my daughters are gonna have to go out and avenge you, and then where does it end? That would also make her perspective wrong, and I think that would just be an extremely uninteresting way to go.
Timing wise, this chapter happens pretty early in the book. Like, does this chapter line up with after the end of Feast? Because
it is after Feast, but it's in the first half of the chapters. I think it's chapter like 34 or something random that I would know that, nor am I sure it's like actually that number.
So I think it's
31.
I think he said that is the like in the moment. I think that's the first chapter that's like a repeat chapter, and in that case it would be the first like past Feast moment.
Because it's weird because there's a huge gap between that and the next Feast character chapter. So it's just like kind of weird because like after that it goes Jon, Tyrion, Asha, Daenerys, Jon. I guess then there's Arya, but it's a good like 7 chapters. That speech from Doran Martell is dope. Doran Martell I think is a interesting character.
I also think like all the stuff he gets the Sand Snakes to do is like really interesting going forward. Like I mean I joke about Balon Swan, but I think so the fact that he's sending people after Darkstar like. And a POV character is going there is really interesting to me. And I've never seen a theory that properly encapsulates why that would be necessary to divert time to.
Arya Hota also has to have his own story. That's one of George's cardinal rules. And so far he has been eyes. So,
yeah,
sure, but is his own story like when you say own story, I would say interior. Like so with Barristan doesn't have his own story. He has his own internal arc that he's dealing with.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So so like I agree. Like something will happen, and Arya will have to make choices, and that will be interesting, and he will grow from it. But what George clearly chose the Dark Star with Obara Sand, and Balon Swan storyline for a reason. And I'm just very interested. Like, I think that is the most under talked about potential plotline and wins because it's like 4 really, really minor characters. But it just seems to me like he's confirmed he's written Arya chapters. So
Hopefully
is writing.
It gets us closer to information on House Dane, who obviously we know
maybe
George
like
loves,
I just don't understand where that storyline could be going.
I was kind of like
to me.
I kind of because so far it kind of feels like the reason Arya Hota has chapters is that like Doran Martell chapters. Like part of the appeal of the chapters is being unsure how much Doran Martell actually knows. And if we're in Doran Martell's head,
rulers can't have like POVs. So
I mean, rulers who scheme. Yeah.
No, like that's his rule. Like he doesn't let rulers have POVs besides Dany.
And Ned and Jon, who's Lord Commander.
Cersei.
And Cersei.
Those are not like okay. So he said the actual thing was kings and queens.
Yeah.
But like I
so Doran, I mean,
Doran
would
is
not
like
be excluded from that.
Yeah.
Right. Like Doran.
Well, he's a prince of Doran. You do things a little differently down south.
I feel like he's essentially a sub-sovereign, and it would just be ridiculous to have like he essentially leads like a subdivision You know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. It's fine. Like I know in my head, but I can't articulate it. What I was
I'm
going to
also
say
excited to see where Area Hota goes.
yes.
I'm not excited, but of the people who I'm excited to see where they go, he is not high on the
Well,
list.
okay, but the reason that like I'm more excited for like where Jaime goes or where Tyrion goes is because I love those characters and like the plot lines where they're in is like very interesting. The reason I'm interested in the Ariel Hoja stuff, yes, it has lots to do with Balon Swan. I'm not even gonna lie, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that it's just such a weird detour with a character that George talks about all the time, being Darkstar, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually wrote down that
what the point is here.
I wrote down in my notes, if Kyle wrote the show and had to make stuff up instead of the adventures of Jaime and Bronn, we would get Areo Hota and Balon Swan as like a plot line for an entire season.
Yeah, when they did that like dumb Suicide Squad going beyond the wall,
oh,
it would be
no, we have to move on. I can't start on that. So here
first half of that episode was good.
Here's my question. You get a genie wish, and I guess David isn't going to read them, so David might not have an opinion on this. And you can just grant George releases a pre-release chapter tomorrow.
Oh,
and
I
you
would
choose
totally
what character.
Jon Snow's first chapter.
Okay, what character?
Question.
All right,
Or
you
Bran.
want Jon character's first chapter?
I think it's got to be Jon, though. I think it's got to be Jon.
What are you taking, Kyle?
Just out of pure agony, it would have to be a Sam chapter, like to the point where
yeah, that's good too.
I've thought about what it would be like to interview George, which like the chance I'll ever get to do is like remarkably incredibly small. But if I ever did get a chance, I've thought of questions I would ask him because it makes me angry how bad people interview him. Like I think 97%
Why
of the
do you
people
love killing characters?
Yeah, like 97% of the people who have ever interviewed him should not have been offered the chance, and I will stand on business with that. Like they're just bad at it. So I always think about what could be good questions to ask him. And this isn't a good question. It's just a question I would have. I would just be like, George, it's been 20 years since we've seen from Sam. Do you think you could release a Sam chapter? Like that's not me being reasonable. That's just me being unreasonable because that's too long to know what is going on with Sam. So that's my answer. I would also really like a Jaime chapter, or a Brienne chapter.
Yeah, there's a few contenders. The ones that you guys didn't bring up that I would want a particular amount is Davos 1, Winds of Winter.
I think that would just be venturing around Skagos.
Yeah, I just don't think that would be that interesting.
Man, it's just like so. Also, it could cover a large period of time because of how he does chronology. Whereas like Davos 4 is very early in A Dance with Dragons, relatively speaking. So like Davos 1 Winds of Winter could cover multiple, like 4 months of plot. So like quite a few things could happen.
I don't think it wouldn't be a good chapter. Like I'm sure.
Yeah.
I want to see Skagos.
But I'd probably take Jon 1 as well.
Yeah, I just think there's more pertinently, like that chapter is going to be like setting up Skagos, whatever's going on there. Like it's not going to be him riding a unicorn, the head of an army of cannibals. Like it's just.
Melisandre would also be good as some like niche hipster pick.
Yeah,
just because it's all.
I'm sticking with Sam. I think I want to know what's going on with Sam.
For me,
people have been waiting for 20 years.
Soon Sam is going to be able to legally drink in the United States. The last Sam chapter will be able to legally drink in the United States of America. And I think we should let it have that first before we get a new one.
The day after he can release the Sam chapter.
Yeah. It could be him buying back in White Harbor.
That is some Game of Thrones level pacing that George doesn't have in him anymore.
Yeah, I disagreed with Derry earlier that we're gonna, because George also like is down to do chapters not in strictly chronological order.
Okay,
so, like, even if he got
how
to
about this though? Call back to the Storm of Swords live show. But how exciting is it going to be when Davos gets to Skagos and Benjen is there?
Yeah, if he's not
David,
cold hands.
I do think that George has said pretty consistently that he keeps them in like chronological order. Like there's very few times that
not strictly. They're not.
Yeah, not super strictly, but like he tries.
I think he tries harder than you guys are giving him credit for. Like he's said it quite a few times that he, if the chapters like, I mean, sure there are examples where it's not the truth.
I don't think our first chapter with Davos is him on the way back with Rickon. Like
Yeah.
that would be
definitely
so
not.
much going on.
No.
Yeah, that'd be like enough on screen time to like make me convinced of Jojen paste.
But it is just wild, like how early the last Davos
off
chapter is in this book, and I just kept
Yeah.
waiting. I'm like, why no more Davos chapter?
Yeah, I agree. Bran, I think, is more justified with us.
Yeah, I mean, the Bran chapter we had takes months, so you can actually be like, maybe the end of Bran 3 is actually like reasonably recently, and he's got to go.
All right, guys. It's been 3
Yeah.
hours. I gotta go.
And we've talked about all the point of views, which we didn't for Feast. I was
Good
actually
stuff.
so yes, we are going to be wrapping this up. I'd like to thank both my
Yeah,
guests,
this was awesome.
David
Yeah,
and
thank
Kyle.
you, Jake. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thanks for
This
having
was-
me again. I'm glad we got
Yeah.
through. We have to know your rating. Sorry. I
Oh
forgot
yeah.
Yeah.
So it did end up slightly being my least favorite. I think I gave it an 8.9 out of 10. It moved up from 8 out of 10. I really like a lot of the chapters in this book. For a bit, I thought I was at, like, I think I have a note somewhere in here about 25. I think the only start of this book, like book that I like more, Storm. Like 30% in, I was like, oh, am I going to be like 2 Theon chapters in? I was like, Dance is going to be my second favorite. I'm going to have a hot take. And then the pacing kind of does some things, and Quentin gets more chapters, and he's just not as interesting. And I'm like, okay, it was still a really good book. Jon is awesome. Theon is brilliant. I still like the Daenerys stuff. But yeah, it is my 5th favorite of the 5.
I would just like to let you guys know that I'm going to be thinking about how I attributed the scene to Quentin instead of Tyrion until the day I die. So
it's tough. It's a tough look.
it is.
You know?
It is tough.
You have to
I
go
know
reread the series
Mitch
another 4
won't let me
times.
live that down. That's for sure.
That is for damn true. Okay, I actually have to go.
All right.
It was good talking to you, David and Jake, but I talk to you all the time. But this is the
And-
first time I've seen David.
And as always, thank you, chat, for being along with us.
Definitely.